sun is shining down here at Sydney Motorsport Park for day 2 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series here in Sydney. Sundown that we're having this weekend. It's round 2 of our competition. Fantastic day of racing coming our way. Jared McLean right alongside me.
Yeah, we were blessed with an incredible day of action yesterday. Some awesome categories really filling out the grid.
9 categories here this weekend, just under 200 competitors. Some of my favourites have to be like the TFH Hire, Legend Cars Australia. Those things have been phenomenal. Of course, our Australian Drivers' Championship, they look like a Formula 1 car really when they're out there on track. But we all love the TFH Hire TA2 muscle car by Maritimo. The big V8s, they're going to be out shortly.
Yeah, we've seen an ongoing dominance from Tim Brook. He's been at the top every time he hits the track.
Race number 1 was marred by a lot of safety car there. We lost a lot of laps. Obviously, Josh Webster blew a tail shaft yesterday with some debris going everywhere. Unfortunately for Brock Payne, that cut down one of his tyres, which meant his short was ended early. His race was ended early.
Yeah, race 2 really delivered an incredible battle. We saw Brook take victory again, but there was some more action behind him.
Another qualifying session this morning where Tim Brook has dominated again. So there's lots to unfold when it comes to the TO2 muscle cars. Right now, though, let's head up to the commentary box with Dan McCarthy as our Formula Fords are underway with qualifying.
Thanks very much, guys. Yes, joining at a good time. Pretty tight on the timing charts out there at the moment. Kobe Williams currently leading the way, but it's a lovely sunny day here at Sydney Motorsport Park, as you can see from the drone footage. A few clouds around, but it's currently 20 degrees. It's going to get pretty chilly tonight, though, as we go well into the night. We're racing past 10 o'clock this evening, so plenty of action to watch throughout the day here in New South Wales. We can see Kobe Williams, there he is in the pits, so he has just entered the lane. He's on top of the timesheets by 14 thousandths of a second ahead of Lachlan Evernet at the moment, so very, very tight at the top. Looking on screen here at Brad James, who gets nice and sideways out of the final corner. He's currently in position number 9, racing for the Marcus Ambrose Motorsport operation. And he shares a team car with Tabitha Ambrose, the daughter of 2-time Supercars champion Marcus. So a couple of those machines out there. Will Lowing started off the session really well. He was right at the top. However, a couple of guys 2 or 3 laps into the session have been able to jump him. So Lowing has dropped down to 5th position now at the moment. He had a pretty good day yesterday, did Lowing. He finished 3rd in race number 1 and backed that up with a 4th place position in the feature race. He was overtaken by Joe Fawcett late on in the race, so that's why he fell to position number 4, but it was a good day for him overall yesterday here at Sydney Motorsport Park. And he's getting a little bit sideways through Corporate Hill. 4 minutes remaining in the session, as we can see. Williams remains on the top. Evernet now has also come in the lane, as has Joe Fawcett. Rowe has just jumped up to position number 4 in the last couple of minutes as well. So a bit of changing towards the pointy end of the field. And he's made the walk up from pit lane to join me in the box. Matty Cav, we've really enjoyed what we've seen from this series so far. And it's only the 4th round of this series.
I think what I like about the Formula Fords at the moment is there's always a couple of battle packs going on, isn't there? There's a top few, the elite that have been up there. There's been a little bit of bad luck stories throughout the weekend as well. Salvatore being one of those, obviously spun around with Fawcett in one of our earlier races yesterday. So as you can see, though, they've got a lot of pace and there's not a lot of difference in the times, is there? Like, we're talking our top 5 separated by less than 1 second out there in qualifying. So this is going to be interesting. They've come off the back of a practice session, so they've got their eye in this morning. Obviously, it's a little bit warmer than it was last night when they went out, where we cooled down to just under 10 degrees and there was very different conditions out there.
Yeah, very, very much so. It was, pretty cold, wasn't it? As we see Caleb Bellac on the screens at the moment, currently in position number 11. But coming back to your point, tyres were a big talking point coming into the weekend. How would they last? Talking up and down the lane to all of the competitors, they all agreed that the tyre deck isn't as bad as they expected, and that is due to the fact that both races took place last night under lights, and that'll be the same today. So that is helping with tyre longevity.
Yeah, so it'll be a little bit different though. Like if they get their eye in now, there could be a slight different tyre pressure change, I would say, tonight. And it's how long it takes to activate that tyre in the cold weather as well, because a lot of drivers across all the categories are talking about, oh, you handled the cold tyre really well, I didn't handle it. You know, people are getting a great jump start on the race, but some are, you know, through attrition are just slowing down through the race, where others are speeding up and their times are improving. So we'll wait to see. But the Formula Ford's a great little category for the up-and-coming racer. A lot of young kids here who are just really honing in their racecraft and building up to what is going to be a successful career for some of them.
Oh, absolutely. You look at what stars have come out of this series over the years. We've had, if you even go back to the days, Larry Perkins was one of the first champions of this series. Of course, he's known as being a 6-time Bathurst 1000 winner, but let's not forget, he did make quite a few Formula One starts as well, did Larry. And there's been many, many supercar stars, particularly in the 90s. It was just a breeding ground, and it really has been since then as well. Likes of Chas Mostert, Cam Waters, Nick Percat in more recent times have come through, Thomas Randall, Anton De Pasquale. The list just goes on and on and on. And you can see with the racing we're going to see this afternoon why it's been the breeding ground for so long. It just produces great racing, and racecraft is just a natural thing you learn when competing in Formula Ford.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of them think they might have got the best out of those tyres as well. Quite a few in pit lane now, happy with that. Williams obviously sitting up the top with a 135.14, 14 thousandths of a second over Evanet. Now we're going to reignite that battle that we saw yesterday. And wasn't that fantastic? Evanet had moments where we thought he was going to come down the inside. He had a look, couldn't quite get it done. Then he just got in front, and the next corner Williams got him back. So I think that's going to really carry on into this afternoon's racing. Fawcett, well, that was unlucky in that race number 1 where he had that incident with Salvatore and ended up in the wall. So they got that car repair, got out last night, made up a number of positions. But I think today is a complete reset for the Formula Fords, isn't it? They come out for this qualifying session, which resets the grid.
100%, absolutely. I spoke to Fawcett yesterday, said in qualifying I just didn't quite get the lap together, and again it looks like the others are just those couple of tenths ahead. However, we saw in the racing, didn't we? Yes, okay, had the incident in race 1, but he came from the very back and stormed through the field to finish in position number 3 yesterday. It was a great drive, and that shows that he has the pace to go the top 2 over the race distance.
There we go. Looks like our qualifying session about to finish here at the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, our Formula Ford. You can see the Pioneer DJ car of Bellac just going into pit lane. You can see, have a look at Sydney Motorsport Park. It is great after all the rain they've had here. Have a look at the glorious lawns out there. It's looking absolutely fantastic. It looks even better under lights tonight.
Kobe Williams then taking pole position by 14 10,000ths of a second. Joe Fawcett in position number 3, 4 tenths off. Then we had Jamie Rowe and Will Lone. But look at how close the next 3 are. Just 700ths of a second between Salvatore, Fraser High and Jack Johnson. That's a battle pack to watch for later on this afternoon. They are ahead of the 2 Marcus Ambrose Motorsport cars of James and Ambrose. And behind that, Bellac and Ethan Fitzgerald.
We'll wait and see how that all unfolds tonight as racing is going to be underway. Our sunset due to happen just after 5 p.m. tonight, where we head over to our live TV coverage on SBS and Fox Sports. And once the sun goes down, it gets very, very different out there. And like we say, a bit more activation to get those tyres to warm up out there. And look at the people starting to flock their way into Sydney Motorsport Park this weekend. A lot of cars out in the car park, and there's plenty of things happening down there. Replica Tourers have been a strong field that we've seen here this weekend as well.
Speaking of strong fields, legend cars.
I don't know what to say. 34 of those here this weekend. So far out of 3 races, 3 different race winners. So we'll wait to see that. As the Formula V start to make their way out, been around for quite a number of years, the Formula V series, very strong over in Western Australia as well. We know the category manager that pushes this on from over there does a lot of travel. They make sure a lot of cars get around, share some transporters and things like that, and there's a great field of them here this weekend.
Yeah, it certainly is. We got 13 1600cc cars, and we got 3 as well 1200cc cars. So a couple of different battle packs to look out for. The racing in this category so far this weekend has been absolutely fantastic. The top 4, there was 5 in race number 1, but since then it's been a 4-way show, fighting it out at the very top of the field, exchanging places, corner after corner after corner. And the man who's been calling alongside myself, Dan McCarthy, for the Formula V weekend has been J Mac. Jared, this has been spectacular.
It absolutely has. You can see them just going through the motions of jumping on the brakes, trying to get some temperature into those tyres. It's Still nice and warm out there, but every little bit counts, and you can see from the drone shot just how aggressively they're able to pitch these things into some of these corners. It's wild.
Certainly is, and cold temperatures, particularly in the evening, and they have to do even more of that. They really do have to weave, and some of the categories are saying even a lap into the race, my tyres are still not up to fully functioning temperatures, suffering with understeer, suffering with oversteer, and great drivers are made on those first laps. If you can maximise on cold tyres, it pays dividends.
100%. We have seen people really benefit from staying in the fight. Daniel Reynolds is going to be on top of his starting grid for race 4, followed by Alex McDonald, Michael Kinsella in 3rd, Curtis Porter in 4th, with Ogden in 5th. Will Pym starting from 6th with Morgan Fremantle from the 7th spot. Ryan Stott, Butcher and Harriet will round out your top 10. And Dan McCarthy, this is the 4th time they've hit this track in anger. And we are expecting big things. The sun beaming down. There's some great temperature in that track surface, and we know these things thrive on grip, but your mid-corner speed is so important.
Certainly is, absolutely. In these things, a lot, you see some high horsepower categories here this weekend, the TA2 Muscle Car Series, Innovation Race Cars. But these guys, it's all about, as you say, keeping up that minimum corner speed, trying to get the slipstream, the toe effect, down these long straights into the braking zones to make your passes. So we saw a lot of it yesterday. We saw them 4 wide into turns like turn 2, the hairpin, wild stuff. But fortunately, at the front, we got away with no damage.
Yeah, it was incredible to see that respectful amount of racing room. Don't get me wrong, it was still very tight and hotly contested, but adequate racing room was divvied out to every single driver here. A couple of minor contact incidents, but we're getting set. You can see that little bit of heat haze over the Sydney Motorsport Park circuit as we are lights out. And it's a great launch off the line for McDonald.
Yeah, really good launch. Straight away, our race 1 winner will take up the running. He's had to settle for 2nd on the last couple of races, but straight to the front for the number 51 machine. But for how long and how quickly will these front 4 break away? Can anybody go with them? Already it looks like they've got a bit of a margin, and we're not even at the first braking point. Around the outside goes Reynolds, deep under brakes, and he reclaims the position. That was bold. We talked about confidence on cold tyres, very important. He had it in spades.
The number 41 machine going out where Angels fear to tread. That was Babbage Hocking back there in the number 12 spot. You can see a couple of big lines being thrown down the inside. Moves being made by Butcher on Harriet for 9th.
Look out for Spark, a retirement yesterday in race number 2. There he is, that black machine, number 47. He was right in the fight for victory in the opening encounter, so look for him not only to come through the field, but potentially, if cards played right, he might be in the fight for the victory late on in this race. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Oh, that was nearly contact there between the red and orange machine. That's Pym and Ogden going down into turn number 8, and I think you saw something else as well.
Just seeing the amount of bites these Formula Vs can take at a corner is just amazing. You think there's zero aero on these things. They have a tiny tyre, and it's not a very technologically advanced tyre. It's not super soft, sticky compound, but it's wild what they can do. I really have some true appreciation for what these drivers are doing. Big wide line, and it's going to cost.
That's the same driver as yesterday, wasn't it, that we saw get out there over the concrete on the outside of the circuit. So again, going to lose positions for Stott there as they come on to pit straight. Yeah, Stott has lost not 1 but 2 places in that little excursion. But he'll regroup and get back on with it. But that's not what you want. So he's down to position number 9. This quartet, though, they're pulling away. I was about to say trio, no, but this quartet pulling away, and they're dragging along Porter. He's just about staying on the tail of this group of 4. Don't rule him out either. Any one of these can win. Daniel Reynolds, a multiple-time champion in this series. Same can be said for Kinsella. We have the very best Formula V competitors that this country currently has, and it is, as you would expect, in the Australian Formula V Championship. This is a round of their national series, and great to have them a part of the Hi-Tec All Super Series.
Early days yet, with still over 12 minutes remaining on the race, but Kinsella hasn't really thrown anything wild into the mix here. He's put together a very, very reliable race, just holding down third place, still within touch of McDonald and Reynolds when they change positions, but looking to capitalise when the time comes, by the looks of things.
I said look for Spark. There he is already in position number 5 at the front of the next group. So he's got to really do it solo, I think. He's going to have to try without a toe to catch up to those 4 ahead. That sounds quite easy. If you watch Formula 1, you think, well, clear air, that's what you want. Not in a Formula V. You'll gain half a second, even more than that in these cars with a slipstream on pit straight, and he doesn't have that. He's 1.5 seconds behind this front group. That's just a bit too far back to get a significant toe, so he's going to have to really work hard in the middle sector of the lap, trying to really gain some speed by himself to vie into this fight.
Here we go, Kinsella looking dangerous under the exhaust pipe of the 51 of McDonald. Looks to follow Reynolds through the inside line. Won't come out on top as Reynolds will have to be satisfied with second, and he is the meat and the sandwich there. Kinsella elevates up into second.
Yeah, really nice move, that one. Nice and simple. Made it look easy. Just slotting it up the inside there, and a great pass. But we saw there, didn't we? Reynolds led across the line, and by the time he gets to turn 2, he's in 3rd position, and that's the toe that we're talking about. Spark, fastest in sector number 1. He's catching them at the moment, only by a 10th or 2 here and there, but this is the sector where he should gain. This is where the other guys will hold each other up a little bit in the middle sector. You can see them. They're like a train, 4 carriages at the moment. He wants to make it a 5-carriage train.
Well, he's steadily drawing up the gap between himself and Porter. Currently sits at just over half a second, and he is now officially part of this 4-car battle, elevating it to a 5-car stoush.
Donald there leaving a little bit of room for Kinsella. He saw the nose poking up the inside, and he thought, well, I might just leave a little bit of room for the Jacer chassied Formula V car. That's one of the great things about this series, though, isn't it? You got different makes and models. So we've got a couple of Jacers at the front. The number 78, Daniel Reynolds, he's in a checkmate. That's the only checkmate in the entire field. But it just shows that different drivers like different types of Formula V machinery. But they're all equal in performance, and you can take victories in whatever you turn up in.
You can just see the drivers' heads moving from mirror to mirror on the run down the start-finish straight, as Kinsella looks to take the fast line around turn 1. They are tapped out 2 and 3 wide on the exit there. Bit of shuffling going on, and Reynolds didn't really have anywhere to go. Ducks to the outside, Kinsella to the front. Reynolds tries to pick up second, but it's the long way around. They almost touch wheels.
How good is that? He's got through, and look, the 47's going to pick the pocket as well. Spark has vied into this fight now, and he's up already into position number 3. Good stuff from him. And through as well comes the number 67 of Porter. So in the blink of an eye, McDonald finds himself at the tail of the field, and he didn't do anything wrong.
No, it was all clean, fair, admittedly hard racing.
Yeah.
But still, some amazing racecraft on display. Minor lock of the brakes there from Spark in the 47 machine, currently mid-pack in that 5-car battle.
That just shows, though, doesn't it, in this series, if you just get, not run out wide, but if you just find yourself boxed a little bit, not on the preferred racing line, the rest will just follow through as well, and you end up becoming a sitting duck. There's a bit of a mistake there for Porter there around turn number 8, the hairpin into the final sector of the lap. A unique section of road this. You got the fast kink here of turn 9. Then you got to get it slowed down for a double apex. It's classed as 2 corners, but how do you take it? As one sweeping corner or 2 individual corners? There's a couple of different ways of doing it, approaching the corner. As Brown, as you say, spinning around there at turn 8.
Yeah, unfortunate to see as our top 3 make a breakaway. And Reynolds again. And throw into the mix. Spark 3 wide on the entry. They're coming down pit straight. Spark to the front. And we've got just under 7.5 minutes remaining, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. We're only at the halfway stage of this race. And this is what we have come to love in this category. Good to see a few people watching on from the hillside down there at turn 2. Here's a replay of what happened. A couple of people in wide. I think they were all following the number 30 there, and who spins around at number 8.
Yeah, Brown with the unforced error, unfortunately, as we rejoin our leaders. Spark from the front with Reynolds, arguably the handiest driver out there over the course of this weekend's racing. Just under 7 minutes left as they go super wide. It's you look at it through the camera and you think that corner there, the exit, the runoff, doesn't look like it would give you much time, the undulation, the change in surface, but everybody gets a whole car width out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely they do. They're allowed, they can do that in these cars. We see at other points of the track, particularly turns 10 and 11, you can't use the concrete on the outside of the circuit. These cars bottom out and end up running really, really wide, so they are able to do it. We saw spectacularly under lights last night, the Formula Fords with sparks coming from underneath them, spectacular images under lights, and we look forward to seeing not one, but 2 Formula Ford races under lights again later on today.
Back to the race at hand, and your running order looks like this. Sparks leads out from Reynolds with Kinsella in third. McDonald and Porter round out your top 5 with 6 minutes left on our Ringers Western race counter.
Look at this, all the way to the inside is Spark trying to break the toe, but he's not going to be able to do anything about Reynolds, who slingshots it around the outside. But look at this, we're nearly 4 wide. We are 4 wide going through turn number 1, and they've got around. They've made it through. Goodness gracious me, down towards turn number 2. They're still side by side. Who's going to yield? McDonald pokes the nose up the inside of Kinsella, but Kinsella chops it off very harshly but fairly and takes the race lead. I didn't think all 5 were going to come out of that in one piece.
There was a moment of concern there for Porter in the 67 on the back of this 5-car field. It almost looked like he was going to get left behind in the weeds, but still managing to latch back onto this 5-car pack, slowing everyone up.
I don't think I've ever seen 4 cars wide through turn number 1. Wow.
Wait until Legend Cars, mate. We go 6 wide.
Yes.
Formula V where it's at here, under 5 minutes remaining, and quick lap time of a 1:46.84 for Spark in the 47 machine. Currently 4th as we have caught up to lap traffic.
Side by side into the hairpin. Reynolds trying to go the long way. Not going to have too much luck there, is he? Yes, no, he's been left room. I didn't think he would be, but Reynolds has been left room. Good, fair drive in between everybody, and Reynolds, as a result, is able to sling on by. Spark tried to vie in as well, but not able to do so on this particular occasion. But look at the gap that Kinsella's pulled at the front of the field. We haven't seen that in this race, but we're onto the pit straight now. So 3/4 of a second the margin as they head onto the pit straight. How close are they going to be by the end? I'm sort of gauging what it's going to be like come the final lap of the race. Looks to me like a 7.5 margin is enough to keep the lead at turn 1.
Yeah, but you're going to want to make sure you maximise your drive off that final corner. If anybody gets the jump on you, it is on Reynolds around the outside. Looks to drag the 51 of McDonald up with him, but McDonald will have to be happy with third.
Yeah, he may have led into turn 1, but he didn't lead into turn number 2, did he? So he shuffled back into second position. The 2 multiple champions at the head of this field. Reynolds from Kinsella. McDonald has had a fantastic weekend. He's already taken a win and a couple of seconds, and he's sitting inside the top 3 once again. Oh, that was a bit of a moment, though, running far too wide, at least a car width wide there through turn 5, turn 05. Named after Peter Brock, as they go through the back section of the course. Of course, this circuit is just off Peter Brock Drive as we turn into Sydney Motorsport Park, so there's a lot of nods. Of course, that's when Peter Brock was doing such great things in Group A touring car racing when this racetrack was open back in 1990.
Some people may be noticing the little wisps of smoke coming out of the tailpipe of these Formula Vs. Nothing really too major as we check out the battle back down for 10th and 11th. That is between Babbage Hocking and Harriet.
Babbage Hocking yesterday retired from race 1, but has been in and around just outside the top 10 since that point. I noted earlier on that Ogden dropped back through the timing. He was in and around Butcher and Scott, but has pitted and is in 15th now, has remained in the lane for much of this race. So that's a shame, because he has been a contender of sort of the second group, the lead contender. Oh, around the outside at turn 1. Thank you very much.
With lap traffic on the horizon, how's this going to look come turn 2 or 3? This is going to be interesting as we get the word. We're going to receive the last lap board. And this is an angry swarm of cars coming up on some slow movers here.
Yeah, they've clearly been told you don't have long to go now. You got to make it stick. You can't wait until turns 1 and 2 anymore. You have to do it here in the middle sector, and that's exactly what Spark's trying to do. He really threw it up there, and Reynolds closed the door firmly shut in his face, and is able to hold on to the position. And now look, Reynolds forced to defend, or is he? Is defence going to become attack? I think he had a brief thought there about going up the inside of Kinsella, but thought better of it. McDonald currently in position number 4. This is the furthest back I think we've seen him all race long. But what can he do late on in this one? Who's going to play their cards now? Are they all going to save it for the run home?
Reynolds doing a brilliant job defending from second place. I'm not too certain we're going to see him pull an attack out of the bag until that final corner. He's still maintaining proximity to Kinsella, so he can grab the toe. It looks like it could be enough, but he has his hands full with the 47 of Spark. He's right under the gearbox here. This is going to be tight because Spark may be able to slingshot. The drive off the final corner from Kinsella looks good. Defending. Jinking to the inside, casting a serpentine shape across the start finish. Who's it gonna be? It's gonna be close. Reynolds
by 1,000th of a second. Incredible. 1,000th of a second between Reynolds and Kinsella. He stole it literally on the line. Can you believe that? Jared, his face, his mouth is just wide open. Can't believe the margin there as they came across the line. Spark was only a quarter of a second behind as well, ahead of McDonald and Porter. But 1,000th of a second, we might see it again here between these two. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? In the end, it's the 16 of Harriet that does it by less than a 10th of a second. But 1,000th of a second separates Reynolds and Kinsella.
Our smallest margin of the weekend. It does not get any better than that. And these are your results. Daniel Reynolds takes it out by 1/1000th over Michael Kinsella, with Craig Spark rounding out your top 3. McDonald in 4th. Porter finishes out your 5 with Stephen Butcher. Ryan Stott in 7th. Will Pym in 8th. Morgan Fremantle and Matthew Harriet finishing out your top 10 here for race 4 of the Formula V's.
I've not seen a race that close in many years. 2019 I called a Formula V race where it was an actual tie, 0 thousandths between them.
Wow.
But that is as close as you can ever get. That is remarkable after 8 laps of competition to be that close.
I tell you what, our team member on the replay is going to have a hard job cutting this together because there was just so much action, Dan. It was just wild from front to back. It was great to see the number 16 machine getting some airtime as well. Harriet came through with a top 10 finish, but wow, at the front, trading blows.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we saw the 2 wide action through turn number 2. There's more to come later on in the race. Kinsella led at this point in time, going around the outside into turn 2, and was followed by Reynolds. It was a great pass, and this is where McDonald has his ears boxed. He went from the front of the queue right to the tail in a very short amount of time. This is a spin further back for the number 30 machine, but a quick recovery, no harm done.
Yeah, it was great to see Spark getting up there for this race 4 of the program too. We didn't see him in the last race, so good to see still pounding out some laps in that group of 5 cars.
Yeah, absolutely, and shows that he's got the pace to potentially take the win later on today. Finished second in the opener, but this was it then, coming onto the pit straight for the final time. It was a great run from Reynolds. Kinsella did everything he could trying to break the toe, but look at this as they came across the line. Absolutely nothing between them. Absolutely incredible. Mel, I believe you're down there with our winners.
I am. From last place, you were leading that race. You've ended up third. What a fantastic drive.
Thank you. Just happy to finish one, really, after the last two. But it was a good drive. Fun coming through the field and got to the front, but just couldn't get there at the end.
Yeah, I mean, you've been fast. You've had a tricky weekend so far, but it looks like you're back on track today.
Yeah, we had clutch issues this morning and last night and sorted them out, and we're back now.
Fantastic job.
Thank you.
By 1,000th of a second, P2.
Just missed out. Yeah, super close there. Probably, I don't know, quarter of a wheel maybe, but nice close racing there. Another good race.
I mean, you guys have certainly put on the show. 4 cars wide around turn 1, and we're all just on the edge of our seats. It's been a fantastic display of racing this weekend.
Yeah, just got to give everyone space. If they're on the inside and you're on the outside, you just can't turn down on them. So hopefully we don't have a big crash.
Well, we hope so too. Well done.
Thank you. Cheers.
Another P1, congratulations.
Yeah, that one was obviously way too close to call. I mean, I wasn't really even sure until you just said it just then that I actually had it. So, yeah, obviously very happy to grab another win. It's very hard to do around here, so yeah, I'll take my second one.
There's obviously a huge amount of respect between you guys out there. I mean, you're 2, 3, 4 cars wide every corner, and there's just no contact. It's, you know, really well done to you all.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a big part of it, particularly in open wheel racing. I mean, going 2, 3 wide around turn 1 can be a bit sketchy, but yeah, so you've got to have a lot of faith in the guys around you, and obviously you try and give them the same respect.
Great job. Well done. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Mel. Can't quite believe what we just witnessed there. But we move from one open wheel category to another, and it's another Australian series. It's the Hankook Australian Drivers' Championship. Hayden Crosland, the local, will come out of pole position. He's taken both wins so far today. But championship leader Damon Sterling will start alongside him for this one. Then we have Hamish Leighton, Dean Crook, Gardner Smith, and the list just goes on from there. Look out for Nico French. He had mechanical dramas after finishing in the top 5 in race 1. Look out for him from the back of the field. I'm Dan McCarthy. Alongside me for this one is Matty Cav once again. Looking forward to the start of this.
Mate, watch out. I tell you what, Sterling. He has had to come from the back of the pack from yesterday as well in race number 2, where everything didn't go to plan, and he's worked his way up there very, very quick. Has a race record from race number 2 as well. As we wait, we are full noise and underway in this Hankook Australian Drivers' Championship race number 3 for the weekend here at Sydney Motorsport Park, as they stay 2 wide through turn number 1. A couple at the back there choosing to go 3 wide. You don't know if you want to go over that with an open wheeler, just in case. Have a look at how fast they are. Hard braking into turn number 2. The big hairpin. Dean Crook just on the outside for a moment there as Leighton holds him out. He's done a fantastic job this weekend, leading our masterclass when it comes to the Australian Drivers' Championship at the moment. And I tell you what, he might not have had the pace in qualifying this weekend, but Leighton has been super consistent when it comes to the racing and making all the right moves out there.
Yeah, certainly has. He has really been enjoying his time at Sydney Motorsport Park. Spoke to a lot of the guys earlier on. They were all saying this is their favourite track. They've never been here before, this championship, and it's a track well suited to them. Huge lockup by Hamish Leighton. We're just saying how good he's doing, and he did run a little bit wide there, but he gets away with it. I think he's pushing hard. He's trying to not only stay ahead of the inaugural series champion in Dean Crook, but he's trying to keep up with Damon Sterling and, of course, Hayden Crosland, our race leader, as well. Here's Nico French in the Suzuki-sponsored machine. He's up the inside of a couple of cars there, down at the hairpin. So he's steadily moving up a couple of places. That most recent pass there on Chris Peters, who's actually one of the co-founders of Quadlock.
Yeah, I think he's locked into that position at the moment, isn't he? At the moment. Great to have Chris here as well. And they've had a bit of a mixed weekend, a couple of minor little things going on there. Didn't they have a shifter cable or something come a little bit loose potentially over the weekend? But there's been a few little things up and down the field. Nico French has probably had the worst of the luck this weekend, I think, out of all the drivers. And it's probably something we haven't seen out of these cars so far, is things like that. And you're talking like shifter comes off. He had a clutch issue, but they've managed to fix that. I think the beauty about this is the Hayabusa engines. As we go down into here, you see Dean Crook just holds out Smith at the moment. He just makes sure he stays in his line at the moment. Crook, who's one of the most experienced racers, obviously does a lot of the development on these cars. He's one of the, the son of the man who's created the category, and does a lot of work behind the scenes, and always testing new parts for the car. They're always modifying something slightly just to increase that reliability in the vehicle, I suppose. So many people get in there and coming out and enjoy a weekend for the amount of speed, the G-forces, the racing that you enjoy. This is a very, I suppose, budget-friendly type of motor racing. Yeah, absolutely. We were talking last night to a couple of different category people, and they all, for some of them, haven't seen this category before, and they're saying, we heard how cheap they are to run, and it's quite remarkable how cheap this category is to compete in. And the just a set of tyres, for example, that does 2 entire race meetings. They only have 3 sets for an entire season. They are very robust, are the Hankooks. But look out in front. Hayden Crosland is chipping away, pulling away from the rest of the field. This is what we're used to seeing this man do. Damon Sterling, he's used to starting from pole and just pulling away, breaking away at the start of races. And both Crosland and Crook generally are the ones trying to chase him down throughout the race. Sterling is ultra fast on cold tyres, but Crosland has really turned the tables this weekend, proving what a talent he is. I mean, he was part of the Ferrari driver shootout a number of years ago, so it just shows the calibre of driver that he is. Yeah, great at his home track as well here in New South Wales. Not too many New South Welshmen behind the Australian Drivers' Championship. Obviously a heavy field of Victorian racers, a couple of South Australians, so I think he'd be happy to bring this one home. You know, he's got the family. You've seen the amount of people that actually here with him. Oh no, who is that? That looks like
Carl Girton, yep.
Yeah, just goes for a little bit of an excursion. The green livery matching the nice green grass we've got out there as well. Well, that's unfortunate for him. That'll just set him back just a little bit and give Smith and Crook a little bit of a moment there where they can try and get away from here, and maybe that'll get him out of the aero slipstream. He hasn't really lost that much ground though. No. I had a chat to him earlier on. This is only his 3rd round in the series for Carl Girton. He's come in, and as I said to him, you've taken to this like a duck to water. He's taken many top 3 positions already. He qualified in 4th. However, he said to me earlier on, and I can see it there behind the wheel again, he said, this weekend we can't get on top of it. We're just struggling with understeer. And it was plain to see right there, just midway through turn 3, just got a hell of a lot of push mid-corner. And from there, he was a passenger. And look at the amount of steering lock he's having to put in again there. It looks to me like they still haven't quite got on top of these gremlins with this understeer. Yeah, no, that was a bit of talk up and down the field too. I was speaking to Dean Crook earlier, and he said, I just don't know what Crosland's got in the car this week, and he has just found another 10th on the rest of the field, and it's got to be just a little setup with maybe the wing angle or something that, you know, it's a slight modification. It's not a major suspension change or anything like that. They don't really have to touch a lot of that once they find the sweet spot. As you have a look here, Crook needs to watch out because Smith and Girton now. Girton on the attack. I tell you what, whatever's in the grass there, that has inspired him, and he gets a move done on Smith, but can he hold on to it? Girton on the outside, and he'll cut the nose off there. And Smith, well, I'm not surprised he just backed out of that just a fraction. Yeah, that was a great opportunistic move, though, from Girton. Smith was balked by Crook going defensive, and he had to brake, try and not run into the back of Crook. Girton, in that exact moment, swung to the inside and took the place. Oh, no, Chris Peters is off. And even worse for Chris Peters, looks to me like he's got some nose damage. Yeah, you can see that front wing just up a little bit there in the quad lock entry, the number 88. So Peters will move down. It looks like the Summons car actually out of here as well. We can't see that up on our timing screen either. Let's have a look back here. Oh no, Girton's going to go down the inside of Crook. Can he get it done there at the hairpin at turn 8? They got a little bit of a run. If he's this close, potentially down the main straight, he could potentially get a little bit of tow. A lot of aero on these cars as well. It's probably the fastest thing you're going to do in open wheelers in Australia at the moment. Yeah, absolutely. These cars are so fast. Flat through 1, flat through 7. Looks like just a harmless spin by himself. I'm not sure about the front wing there. That was a little odd, but it looked to me like there's no damage until he was going backwards through the grass. But here comes Girton. As I say, this corner, everybody is flat in these cars. But Girton, with the better line around the outside, is able to just get his car in front. Yes, he is, and Smith follows him through as well. So Girton came across to defend into that corner. That meant that Crook had to slow down, and Smith said, thank you very much, I'll come around the outside and pick your pocket as well. Yeah, he just followed him through. They got a nice run. Crook really looking like he's struggling just a little bit, maybe something not quite happy with the balance of that car is what I sort of got out of him this morning. Gardner and Stasi behind them too, having a nice little stoush, and that's for the 7th position. So there's plenty going on in the back. Crossland, well, checked out by almost 3 seconds at the moment at the front. Sterling in 2nd, then it's Leighton 3rd. Back to Girton, Smith and Crook that you can see on your screen right now. Then it's Gardner, Stasi, Nico French with a big move from the back of the pack up into 9th. and Catlin will round out your top 10.
Yeah, Nico will be happy about that. He was pretty disappointed when we spoke to him earlier on, wasn't he? He was a bit down in the dumps after having that shifter issue, but it looks like he's got the pace anyway, hasn't he, to be right up there. Mitch McGarry's also moved up a couple of places in just his second event, and we're looking at him on the screen. He's right on the tail of Ewan as they go through the kink of turn number 9. What can the South Australian do? Where can he line up a potential pass? Surely you'd think getting a good toe down the pit straight. Here he comes out the final corner, and he's got a great run. This is a really nice run down the straight. He's going to try and swing it to the inside, is he, or is Ewan going to defend it? No, up the inside. 2 newbies to the series this year, going for a top 12 position, and McGarry slides on by.
Yeah, nice move there, actually going into turn number 1. Ewan didn't really try and get too defensive. Want to have a look in front, though. Is that Davey on Caitlin as well? There's going to be a little bit of a stoush going on that time now for position number 10 as we head back to this one. This is Girton out in 4th position at the moment. Smith right behind. Dean Crook's just fallen back just by a couple of tenths of a second at the moment. You feel like he's either resting those tyres with 9 minutes remaining in this race, potentially just letting them cycle a little bit, or do you think he might have just missed out on the setup of this one that's hurting him?
I think it's more the latter, unfortunately, for Crook. Oh no, speaking of problems, Rory McKercher is in the lane, and that doesn't seem to have any drive. They can't even drive it into the pit garages, so he's going to have to be pushed in there. So not sure what's happened there for him. He's not had too much luck this weekend, has he?
No, McKercher obviously a very unique car, that one, actually, because obviously not being having the ability to use his legs after a motocross accident, they've actually got hand controls in that car for him as well. So it's a slightly modified ECU and later model engine so that it allows him to use those hand controls. Incredible how he does all that while still steering and getting this car around. So that's unfortunate for him, and potentially that's just a little bit of more difficulty, I suppose, in the setup of the car.
Here we go, McGarry. He's moved past Ewan. Next one on his target list is Davey. Is he going to replicate the pass? Got the toe down the pit straight, moves to the inside, and will he be able to take the place before turn 1? He's certainly sent it up there. Speaking of, side by side around turn 2, Crook. He was at the tail of this pack just before. Now he's right back in there again, but unfortunately in attempting to make the move on Smith, he's lost out to Girton, who might get both of them in just a couple of corners up the inside for the youngster Girton. Another one new to the series this year. Around the outside now at turn number 5. Oh, that was close. Girton had to run wide to avoid any contact. Side by side into turn 6 as well. They've now been side by side for about half a lap, but finally Girton does it, and does it around the outside.
I thought it was formation. They were getting ready for a rolling start there for a second. Too wide. They just kept going, giving each other racing room. I really like the respect that they've shown to each other in this one. The Spectre Properties entry.
But that's all the way through the field,
It's all the way through the field. Smith doing a fantastic job. Have a look at Crook, just waiting again. And we did. We said he would come back at some stage. He's just looking for an opportunity, and he tried to take it. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. And you can see him in the background scheming to where it's going to be. It might take another lap or two for him just to get on the back of these 2 cars. I mean, time is ticking down, but he knows that he's not going to be fighting it out for first or second. It's these 2 drivers that he has to try and compete with throughout this race at the moment. Have a look at Smith now, the 74. Pulls out. Girton down the inside. They're going to go too wide again. Oh, he does get in front too. This time, Girton decides, no, it's better to be under that rear wing of Smith as we head into turn number 2. Crook in the background. Oh, he pulls out. He has to get defensive. What can Crook do in the background? Goes around the outside once again, but he's gone very, very wide. Actually, all of them have gone a little bit offline there. No one really hugging the curb, and Crook's got his nose going down the inside. That wing luckily doesn't make any contact. And Smith still comes out the benefactor of this little stoush they're having.
I don't know what you think. Do you think the slipstream's more powerful today down the pit straight?
I'm wondering whether we've got some sort of wind down there today. It was very still yesterday. Every time we saw a brake lock up, the smoke, the tyre smoke would hang around for a long time. Today, we haven't seen so many brake lock-ups. Potentially, we've got a little bit more breeze out there.
I think we're seeing them really getting that toe and able to slingshot left or right at turn 1 a bit more than what we saw yesterday. Maybe that's a bit further down the field, not quite sure. We'll keep an eye on the wind as today goes, but as you say, it was very still yesterday. When we saw brake lockups, the smoke wasn't dissipating anywhere. It was hovering around the corner for 2 or 3 laps.
Felt like we're in a nightclub. It was just there. The smoke
That's
machines
right.
were going.
Yeah.
Look, I wondered too whether that might be a slight wing adjustment too. A little bit difference in downforce potentially. A lot of them talk. It's not like they try to keep a secret on the setup. Everyone wants to go there and perform their best. So they might see a few of them just making a few minor changes to the aero on these cars.
I'm loving this. Seeing Hamish Layton, currently he's matching Damon Sterling out there on the racetrack. That's really good to see. He's really doing well this weekend. I said to him, was that race earlier on today your first top 3? He said first top 3 finish in a couple of years, so that shows just how strong his weekend's been. And once again we go 3 wide. I think Dean Crook didn't realise that the 2 were side by side on the left of him, and he went out very, very wide. But Smith is certainly getting his elbows out, isn't he? He's not letting these guys take 4th position from him without a huge fight.
Definitely not making it easy for them, and we'll have to wait and see how patient, I suppose, Gerd wants to be. And I can see you're getting very animated because in the background there's that Suzuki car. Nico French from the rear of the field. He is driving this car so hard right now. A 1:31.56 last time around. He's only a couple of tenths faster than the guys in front of him, but he is pushing hard. And he had obviously the Suzuki rep out yesterday from Australia, so great to have him here down at the Hi-Tec Super Series, and with so many Suzuki engines, like obviously Hayabusa powered cars. Great to have them, supporting the category.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's slowly catching these guys, isn't he? As well, Mitch McGarry is absolutely flying out there. He's inside the top 10 now. Purple in sector number 1, and he's quickly honed in on the tail of Lucas Stasi, who himself is not far behind Gardner. So we're going to have a 3-car train just behind these guys in the not too distant future. But this 3-car train is now 4. Into turn number 1 they go. Look at this. Round they go, side by side. Look at Crook, though. He's got a nice run on Girton up the inside, but will he have anywhere to go? No, look at this. Nico French goes around the outside. Last of the late breakers. And now he's got the inside for the next one, but Girton just about had enough car length to go ahead. But boy, oh boy, did he throw that around there, and he did get 1 place.
Yeah, he got past Crook, which, look, Crook's not going to be happy about that. He's surely not going to give her that position, but Nico French looks like he's on a charge at the moment. And where will he try and close this gap up and have another attempt at moving up a position? These 2 in front, look, well, they're moving around. It's like a game of snake, isn't it? They just keep following one another down. They saw it down the main straight there, just covering off at the moment. How much longer can Smith keep his eyes in those side mirrors, though, because Girton is trying everything. He's going to the left, he's going to the right. Now a big duck down the inside here into 8. Can he pull it up under brakes in the hairpin? It looks like it'll just force Smith to go a little bit wider. He's right out on the outside of the track at the moment. Manages to get it on before the grassed area, though. And Nico French, well, he can just sense that he can feel it coming to him.
That was a great pass. We haven't seen too many passes there in this category at turn number 8. The former Trans Am driver, Carl Girton, showing why he has been a front runner in multiple national championships to make a move there. Very brave, very committed, but it was a perfectly executed manoeuvre. And here we go again, down towards turn number 1. Girton goes the very inside line. Smith goes, I'll send it around the outside, but look for Nico French. He might be boxed in. Yeah, he will be. Look for Dean Crook to take the place off him as a result. You've got to be careful down there, haven't you? If you're the 3rd car in the queue, you can get a great run, but if your track's blocked, you leave yourself vulnerable to the car 4th in the queue, and we've just seen it 2 laps in a row. French briefly got past Crook, and Crook then briefly just got past French. So yeah, you got to play your cards right. You don't want to try and overtake with a half-hearted move, because that leaves you vulnerable behind.
We'll wait and see what Nico French can try and conjure up at the moment. As you can see him just sitting there in 6th place, which is a great comeback from 17th on the grid in race number 3 here of the Hankook Australian Drivers' Championship. Still got one more race to go this afternoon as well. So sometimes you've got to save a little bit in the car for this one. I tell you what, Nico French has probably been over that car 3 times this weekend now with the bad luck that he's had. So I'd expect that we're going to see that one come home strong, especially if he can start a little bit further up the grid. As we have a look at Stasi right now on your screen, just behind Gardner with McGarry just behind. So this one's going to be a triple threat soon for Gardner in 8th position. They're just a little bit further back from Dean Crook, who's in 7th now. That gap's opened up to about 4 seconds.
Always like seeing Lucas Stasi do well. He's inside the top 10 at the moment. He runs this car by himself. Every weekend you see him putting the fuel in the car, checking over absolutely everything. He has some mates in the category, of course, that come and help him out, but for the most part he does it by himself, drives the car to the track on the back of the trailer, does a great job.
Oh, they're side by side again, and Smith will have to get out of this one. Couldn't hold Girton out, who was right alongside. Nico French almost lost the front of his wing. Thought I don't think they saw him coming up the inside too, and I think he thought the best thing would be to back out of that just a fraction, as Dean Crook just hangs back a little bit this time. I don't think he was close enough to get involved in that one. So Nico French still looking for that opportunity, where seconds left ticking on the timesheet there. As you can see up now, Ringers Western's leaderboard. Ooh, I think this could be our final lap. We'll have to wait and find out.
It's going to be tight, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's going to be tight.
Running out of opportunities really here, and Nico French, is he going to throw a Hail Mary down one of these corners, or is he just going to say, you know what, it's not a bad fight back to get all the way up into 6th position?
Yeah, absolutely. That's and I think McGarry might be thinking the same thing. Got up to 10th, and I'm right on the tail. But here we are. Around the final corner comes Hayden Crosland. He's weaving across the line. He's going to make it 3 from 3 so far this weekend. Can he make it 4 from 4? Well, we'll have to find out tonight. But another great performance from Hayden Crosland, taking victory by 4.7 seconds in the end over the reigning 2-time champion Damon Sterling. Is Nico French going to get there late? No, not quite. So Girton prevailed in that battle in 4th, ahead of Smith, French, and Crook actually dropped off a little bit in the end, dropped off the trio to finish in position number 7. We're not used to seeing him fall that far back in a race. We're always used to seeing Dean Crook up the front of the field.
Yeah, French got there in front of Smith here by just under by 45 thousandths of a second. So that one was very close across the finish line. So we'll have to wait and unfold that. No, it corrects itself there. And that's what I thought something might have gone on there as we have a look at our official results here for race 3 of the Hankook Australian Drivers' Championship. Hayden Crosland with the dominant win once again. Damon Sterling couldn't get up there despite his efforts in race number 2 to start alongside. And it's Hamish Leighton as rounds out your top 3. Before we go back to Girton, Smith and French and Crook, who had an amazing 4-way battle there for many laps towards the end of that race. Gardner, Stasi and McGarry, well, they were fighting it out for 8th.
They certainly were. Justin Ewan, the rookie, just outside the top 10. It is Zach Catlin, who fell down quite significantly late on in that race. Not sure if there are any problems there. He beat home Jack Lewis just, then Brendan Davey, Roy McKercher, Chris Peters, the non-finishers in that one. A couple of dark clouds above us here at Sydney Motorsport Park, but we're not expecting any rain. The only water is on the skid pan in the middle of the circuit. Here, though, are the highlights of the Hankook Australian Drivers' Championship, race number 3. They went 2 by 2, side by side around turn number 1. But in the midsection of lap 1, they spread out in a bit of a lock-up there. This was a big moment. Carl Girton running wide at turn number 3. Lucky to keep that off the barrier and lucky to keep it facing in the right direction, which cannot be said for Chris Peters.
No, he unlocked the car there, didn't he, and spun around into the grass. That was unfortunate for him, so we didn't see him finish up there probably where we would have. And this was a 3-way battle that went on for a long time for that 4th position, but then a bit further down the field you can still see plenty going on. But this is the one that we focused on, didn't we? Smith, Crook and Girton, and for many, many laps they were jostling it out. We saw position changes happening. In the end, it was Dean Crook who just couldn't quite hold on. He had a couple of moments throughout the race where he tried to do a attempt, but these two went side by side through sections of this racetrack, Girton and Smith. Girton in the green machine. And I thought this was formation lap when we're going through this, because they were just side by side through 3 corners, up through 5, 6 and 7. Finally, Girton got in front, and then all of a sudden Nico French was there. He caught up to him from back of the pack all the way up. Managed to get himself a 6th position finish.
This is a battle pack that just would not stop giving, would it? But out in front, Hayden Crosland could not be stopped. He's enjoying his time here at Sydney Motorsport Park. He took the race victory. Thumbs up to his family and friends. J-Mac, down to you.
Congratulations, Hayden. Man, 4.7 seconds, the difference across the finish line. But hard fighting all the way through, wasn't it?
Yeah, super hard. You know, I could see him in the mirror coming off the exit of almost every corner. So just try to keep pushing, build a little bit of a gap, and then manage it from there on. I think I did an all right job.
Trying to shake that toe on the run down the straight, it is a big ask. Some people using pretty much the entire width of the track. Anything like that in your repertoire?
It's huge, to be honest. For me, when I come onto the straight, I have a massive look in the mirrors and make sure that he isn't close enough to get in the toe. If he is, definitely use the whole track and try and avoid that toe.
One more race, mate. What's the plan?
Same thing. Go and have another crack.
Let's go.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, big smiles. They'll be happy with all the friends and family here this weekend as well. And will the New South Welshman make it 4 from 4? And won't that be a bit of a state of origin between New South Wales and Victoria too, considering the amount of Victorians that are here this weekend. Have a look at Sydney Motorsport Park. The rain has not upset the look of this place. The grass is green. The track is looking absolutely superb. And we have some fantastic weather here this weekend for the Sydney Sundown. Of course, we do go racing under lights from 5 p.m. tonight. The sunset set just after 5. And last night was some exhilarating racing. The track really looks like you've just put up a neon sign on your wall when we have a look at those overhead shots. Let's head into the Australian Super Tin Tops category now as they come out on track. And there's been some interesting cars in this one. Matty Sims has been fairly dominant in that V8 powered or the LS powered BMW at the front. The car that's second, though, the K24 swapped Honda Integra there of Benny Tran. So it's, you know, bringing a knife to a gunfight. Sometimes you would think traditionally when you see like a V8 powered BMW, but I tell you what, that car is super quick. Supercharged, obviously, the K24 swap. And we've got Mark Tracy just behind who we caught up with just out the back here a little bit earlier. And he said, no, it's all right. He goes, his son just made a couple of little adjustments to the car. Because remember yesterday we saw him with a massive brake lock up there. The car got the back overtook the front coming into turn number 6. And I said, what happened there? He goes, well, Blake made an adjustment, didn't tell me about it. Thought he was doing the right thing for me. So hopefully they've fixed that up, and Mark Bailey might be able to take a bit of another approach to this race.
Here we can see the grid then for this one. Matt Sims, as you say, from pole alongside Benny Tran, Mark Tracy, Stephen Chilby, and then we've got a few different machines from there. James Hayward in the Nissan, Darren Steeden in the glorious Ford Escort. Then we've got Peter Ryder, Tony Saint, Daniel Natoli, and Ben Arnold.
Yeah, reformatted Plazmaman Super TTs this year. Ryan Bell out of 11th, and it's Giattini, Bunt, and Pigden. Ricketts is there. Michael Ricketts, who you've got to respect that little pulsar of his, the young car wash entry, and we'll see what happens because he might be able to work his way through. Corey Gillett, well, we went down there to find out what happened to his car yesterday, obviously starting towards the back of the field. Snapped an axle, a drive shaft in that car, and they believe they were going to get one out here. Can't confirm until I see it out on track because they were waiting for parts to arrive. Direct overnight import from somewhere local.
I was looking for the car today in the paddock and I couldn't see it, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It was up on jack stands. They had it ready. They were just waiting on the parts to arrive, so hopefully we'll see that start off the back of the pack. He's had a bit of an unfortunate run to the start of the series. Obviously at Winton we saw that with some mechanical issues as well, which they've managed to work through, and gearbox issues he had with the car. He's managed to overcome that, and then the drive shaft said, no, I'm out now too. So we'll get there. We'll wait and see if he made it out.
That's one of the things with this category, isn't it? These are not standard cars. They've been heavily improved, heavily modified, but as a result, we do see a few mechanical failures. And I did see at the top of the hill, Corey Gillett is out there on the circuit.
We'll wait and find out. A mixture of cars here. Basically, if the car was registered at some point, it means, well, it's a tin top. It's a production style car. If it's been produced and driven around, they can turn these into race cars on these tracks. Some of them are simply road cars that they've put the safety equipment into. Maybe put a roll cage in, taken a little bit of the interior out, and they're out there racing. Ryan Bell's 370Z is one of those cars. It's not overly modified. They're just working away in the background on the suspension and things like that. So a big range of cars. Some of them have been highly modified as they've evolved throughout their life. Matty Sims BMW, that's one of those at the front. And you can't tell me a K24 swap on a Honda Integra with a supercharger. That's slightly modified.
just a small amount.
Yeah.
Here we go, though. Lights are about to go out, and they have done. Very equal jump on the front row, but Benny Tran can't find a gear. He's really balked there as he really struggled to engage second gear. He's been swamped as a result, but once again the Escort flying around the outside at turn 1. A little bit too wide though in the end, and he falls back behind Matt Sims, but Chilby is the white BMW out front.
Well, there's a pack of V8 powered BMWs. Oh, Tran's gone really wide there on turn 2 as well. Not quite sure whether the cold tyre might be hurting that car being front wheel drive or whether there's an issue with it
I thought I heard him struggling to get down through the gearbox. So already he's had a couple of issues with the gearbox there, I think. So let's keep an eye on that as this race unfolds. The skyline's looking a bit slow over the brow of the hill. That is not good news for Harwood, who has been so fast this weekend. You'd almost say the best of the rest after the BMWs and Benny Tran. But that car is coming to a halt on the outside of turn number 4. That's a real shame. Look at it. It seems all right, seems to be tracking fine, but clearly some sort of mechanical issue.
Surprising there from the skyline. Obviously got a lot of track heritage in the R32s and cars like that. Here we go, Matty Sims, though. It took a couple of moments to get the car going. It wasn't a great start for him where we saw Chilby go flying by, but Sims now gets the move done in turn 8. Oh no, Tran is back. He's found a gear because Mark Tracy has to do some work here. Can he hold on? No, the BMW will have to let Tran by, and Tran back into 3rd position. Mark Tracy in the Twin City Roller Doors entry. He won't be liking that, but I'm sure Blake's on the radio going, what are you doing giving him that position?
Yeah, Benny Tran came after retiring from race number 1 yesterday. Came from the very back of the field to finish just 1 second behind the race leader. And you sort of feel if there were just 1-2 laps more, he might well have taken the race victory. So I would not rule him out of contention in this one. Yeah, right, he fell back to 5th position at the start of this one, but he's already up to 3rd, and look, he's having a look at Chilby down to turn number 2. The quicker he can make this move, the more likely he is to mount a challenge to Matthew Sims, who so far this weekend has dominated proceedings here in the Plazmaman Super TTs.
I think Tracy just needs to stay with him at this point, follow Tran through the little bit of traffic there. Chilby now has to take back, let that position go as Tran slides out the Integra. Wow, it's not a rear-wheel drive car either. That is just pure speed and no grip in the rear. Just having a look at it come under brakes, it's good there. It isn't, you can see a few little bumps as they go into turn 6, can't you, as they just come off that crest. Oh, a bit of movement there, and that's Matty Sims sliding the BMW, leading this race at the moment by a slim 2.8 seconds.
He's probably been told on the radio, all right, Benny Tran has just taken 2nd position, and he's gone, that's not what I wanted to hear. So, yeah, he's probably been informed of that, and he wants to put the power down now. Peter Ryder up behind the Audi TT going by. And good to see as well Brent Edwards back out there. They've had a lot of work done overnight to get that thing back out there, and even when we saw him this morning, he wasn't sure he would be.
Yeah, they suspected they hurt the flywheel overnight. They managed to get it on a hoist this morning after diagnosing that. They didn't look at it last night, pull the gearbox out of rings, but it's been this morning. They believe they haven't damaged the crank, they haven't damaged the flywheel. It was just brand new bolts. They got that back in, got the car back out there. So, one, that's been a quick turnaround this morning. Second of all, let's hope that the inspections they made are accurate. We don't want to see anything happen to that car because the cable source Falcon is on a charge now and gets himself another position as they head down the straight up into 12th position after a DNF yesterday.
Great pass from him. Big rear wing on that car, certainly not the one that comes as standard on a Ford Falcon of that era. As we see these two fight, we didn't see these two fight too much yesterday, Arnold and Steeden. The number 44 machine down the hill, the all-wheel drive Nissan R32 taking the fight to the heavily modified Escort. I don't think there's a panel on that that's the original, maybe apart from the headlights.
Yeah, small block Chev powered Escort.
Yes,
so it's
correct.
Not small block Ford, you didn't hear me wrong. Because looks like the Skyline is just going to get a manoeuvre done here in turn number 6. Gets him under brakes. You think it'll be a lot more nimble. I know it's a little Escort, but with the big V8 power under it, it's still probably going to carry a lot of weight. Didn't find out if that was an alloy block or anything. I dare say that's going to be a cast block and still a little bit heavy under the bonnet. Skyline well balanced there. Just gets this move done nice and smooth through turn number 8. It's the acceleration down here. The North Albury automotive entry of Ben Arnold out of New South Wales. Down near the border. It looks like Steven's not going to be able to do much about this. Arnold's going to be able to keep going as we watch our timer screen. Just sorting itself out there at the moment as they head over the finish line. Still 10 minutes remaining in this race as we check out our Ringers Western leaderboard. Sims in the lead, followed by Tran, Chilby, Tracy, Arnold, Steeden, Saint, Ryder. Gillette is already up to 9th, just past Natoli.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryder is looking very nice out there at the moment. J-Mac, down to you.
Harwood
looked like he was going to retire from this race, but has brought the Nissan into pits and noticed they have actually popped an intake hose off the throttle body. So looking to rectify that, and it's all hands on deck. But the intention is to get this car back out there for a finish. It's wild times down here in the pits.
Yeah, losing that pipe off really upsets the tune in those cars. No boost in there, and that'll be overfueling the car at the moment. Would have been blowing out a fair bit of fuel out the exhaust system as well. So hopefully they can get that pipe back on. Very common we see those intake pipes blown off. Corey Gillette, though, have a look past Ryder now, already up into 7th position, and the drive shaft is holding in. Whatever they've replaced that with, looks like it's done the trick. It's a big brake lock up there for Gillette. Oh no, into 6, which we've seen has been a common area for these cars. And you watch them go down, there's a couple of little bumps as well. So I think sometimes just in the wrong points, the cars getting a little bit unloaded in some of those points where the car goes over, the bumps, and locking those wheels up amongst several categories. So that's really the corner we need to look out for.
One of the things I love about Corey Gillette's story is the fact that car he's owned for 23 years. And for the first 5 or 10 years, that was his road car. He's then turned his road car into a race car.
That was a drift car for a small period too.
Yeah, okay, I didn't know that.
No, I first time I went down and saw that car, I said, I think you used to drift this car, just judging by some of the modifications. He goes, yes, but it was more cost effective to go circuit racing, and I'm getting a bit more time out. I'm doing a lot better at that one.
Gentini on the back of Natoli. Gentini competed just a couple of weeks ago here in the Sydney 300 endurance race. The two Gentinis together getting a class podium finish. So it's a track that he knows very, very well, and we can see at the bottom of the screen that car is being pushed back out onto the circuit. So good news there for Harwood, who hopefully can get some points within his class. And that's something we haven't touched on. There's 4 different classes out there in this field. So you got Supreme Tin Tops, which is production-based cars or a capacity of under 2.2 litres. Super 6, that's for your sort of saloon cars. So that's a naturally aspirated or inline V6 of up to 4.1 litres. Ultimate is from 2.2 to 4.4 litres. And then Outlaw is your high-performance tin top with an engine capacity of 4.4 litres to 7 litres. So a few different categories out there at the moment. For example, Pettit is in 22nd position, but leading the Super 6 category. So there's a few different storylines within the category.
Indana's up on your screen now in the EA Falcon, all thanks to Precision Turbos. Just a little bit of smoke, and that might be potentially out of the turbo, could be causing that at the moment. Wall goes a little bit wide, you can see how much it drops off. Ryder's spun around though in the Sylvia. He's not in a great location. Turn number 8, right on the hairpin. Can he get the car started? This is the problem though. If he can't get that move, potentially we could see some yellow flags, or even worse, a Hyundai. We don't want that. We don't want to call out our Hyundai.
We love Hyundais, but
yeah, we love them.
We love the safety car as well. We don't like to see it on the racetrack during races.
Yeah, there's a time and place for it.
Exactly right.
Natoli still holding out Ryan Bell at the moment for 12th position. Natoli obviously had that car up at the Bathurst 6 Hour as well, and they did very well in class, from 3rd, I think, in their class, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, very close to, if not on the podium. But we're looking here at Bunting and Saint, 2 very different machines, one British built and one Japanese built. Bunting races quite often in the Victorian Super Tin Tops, or Super TT as it's known in Victoria, and around a track like Winton, which is the regular circuit for that category. This thing absolutely flies, obviously lightweight, nimble, small, well suited to the technical circuit that is Winton, not so well suited to a fast circuit like Sydney Motorsport Park, but still doing pretty well inside the top 10. Lotus is known for their reliability issues over the years. Unfortunately, that did have an issue in the race yesterday, but he has recovered to be inside the top 10 at the moment.
Oh, it's all right. I saw them washing that this morning. I think that's the only race car I saw get washed with soapy water this weekend. Most of them get a little bit of a wipe down. That thing got a full polish.
Oh.
Ryder's still stuck there on turn number 8. That's not a great location to be in.
It's another drift car. It's used to being sideways, but not backwards.
Well, normally you try and correct it from there, yes. I think it's used to running too, and it's not doing that at the moment.
No.
I'm wondering whether the engine's got issues. A whole lot of smoke now from the 245 there. That's unfortunate. I hope that's not going to be an issue for Findanis out of New South Wales. Potentially that is a building. We saw a little bit of white smoke just coming out from that right-hand side of the car, left hand on screen, but it seems to be getting a little bit worse potentially.
I don't think that's lockups. I think that's something else. Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to look at the right. Is that where the exhaust is coming out? Not quite sure.
I reckon it is. Simon Cox behind from the Eastern Sleepers and Aussie Off-Road there in the 350Z. I'm sure he could tell by the smell that's coming out of that car if we could just get him on the line.
Yes, exactly, exactly right. The 101 machine of Ryan Bell out there. Both of those two cars on the screen, they took part in the Invitational category as part of production cars yesterday. But we turn our attention back to the BMW at the pointy end of the field, who's beginning to go through and navigate the lap traffic, as well is Benny Tran. Benny Tran's got the fastest lap of the race, about half a second faster than the race leader. However, we saw, didn't we, at the start of the race, Benny Tran fell to 5th. He recovered, but by then the margin was a good couple of seconds. And sadly for him, he's not been able to reel in the race leader. Despite having the superior car pace, clearly not being able to catch up. Oh, Ryder's back going. And both of these two cars are the ones that we saw have issues in this race, but they're back going out there on circuit.
Yeah, not quite sure whether Harwood just trying to get some laps under his belt or whether there is another issue with that car. He might just be trying to keep it going. As the Miniman's out there, Draper, a little hiatus from racing. I think they said something about 30-odd years he's had a little hiatus, but had been very successful in mini racing throughout his previous years of being on track. Great to have him back out. They've got quite a nice little winglets on the side of that front spoiler as well. They've been working a little bit hard on the aero, I think, on that one. As Matty Sims comes through, and that's going to be lap traffic for Matty Sims out in the lead at the moment by 11.5 seconds. As Tran, something's happened. He's had a big moment, already back to 4th if our timing screen is correct.
What a shame. I was just saying what a good job he's doing with car pace.
Yeah, you gave the commentator's curse.
Very much so. Put the mockers on him.
Better not go down there in the break.
I do know Benny, so I'll stay clear. Oh, and off for the leader as well, the number 71 machine, having a bit of an off-track excursion on the exit of turn number 8. You don't normally see that, do you? There's a lot of tarmac runoff on the exit of that corner. So to find the grass, he must have had a bit of a hairy moment. Let's see on the replay. Through turn number 8. Oh, just put a wheel over the exit of the curb, and then it dragged the whole car onto the grass.
Yeah, I think some great reactions there to realise, let's just go with this one. Don't try and fight it too much there. That could have really been ugly as he gets a few more cars down the main straight. That car is so fast in a straight line. Let's have a look at this, 244 kilometres an hour.
That car that was running slow is the Harwood car again. That's not good to see. So it's just gone back out there, and this car's not running particularly well either. I'm not sure the engine temps will probably be getting up with that much smoke. It's certainly not a good look anyway. And I'd be potentially bringing that Ian Erring on the side of caution here, because that is smoking pretty significantly now. The old Falcon of Findanis, who's just gone a lap down. That's probably good news. He'll do one less lap anyway than those ahead of him. Out in front, we look at the lead. Despite that off-track excursion and due to the fall through the field of Benny Tran, he is now 11 seconds in front. Benny Tran's fall through the field is continuing. He is now down to 5th position on the road. So clearly some mechanical issues for that car. It's 5 or 6 seconds a lap slower in each sector of the lap. So Benny Tran is struggling out there on the circuit. I said yesterday that car runs really fast, really well, but when it doesn't run, it does have quite a few issues, but hopefully he can bring that to the line. Out in front though, Sims comes around the final corner. He took the 2 wins yesterday, and this will be his 3rd. He had settled as the bridesmaid in round 1, but he's turned the tides in his favour here this weekend so far. He's got one more to go this evening, but once again, Matt Sims takes victory here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Second place is going to go the way of this car on the screen at the moment. It's going to be the number 226 of Chilby, with Mark Tracy rounding out the top 3 positions. And then it's Daylight to position number 4. And I'm looking at Benny Tran, who's continuing to fall down the order. How low is he going to go is the next question. He is really struggling. He's down now to 8th position and continuing to tumble down the timing screens.
How low is the limbo? That's what we want to know. Benny Tran, yeah, unfortunately, he is moving down 8th position at the moment. Here we go. This is Steeden going across the line there, 5th place. That'll get him home. Gillette gets in 6th. What a comeback from him to be rear of field and get all the way up to 6th place. Let's have a look at the official Plazmaman Super Tin Tops results. Matty Sims with a dominant lead there despite a couple of hairy moments. Then it's Chilby in 2nd and Tracy to round out your podium. Then back to Arnold, Steeden, Gillette with a fantastic charge. Brent Edwards just behind him in 7th. Benny Tran will try and figure out what happened there. Tony, Saint and Bunton will round out your top 10.
Benny Tran did cross the line in 8th, yeah. So that was good in the end. Not to
find out what happened there, because that looks like some mechanical issues. Giantini in 11th before we go back to Bell. Natoli, Ricketts, Pigden, Findanis in the Falcon, Cox, Maris, Webster and Draper in the Mini. We go back to Mick Pickett, Laurel Ball, Peter Ryder, who had that moment on turn 8 where he was parked for a very, very long time there. And luckily nothing happened. Let's have a look at some of the highlights though. And well, our leaders didn't get a great start. Sims and Tran, they were left sleeping on the line. I just think maybe the gears in the car and a gearbox issue potentially for Tran. And have a look at this. It was a great start though. Steeden managed to get around the outside as well. Chilby for a moment there for Harwood, where we saw a little bit further on that one of the intake pipes had come off and didn't have any boost in that car.
Absolutely. This is one of the charges through the field. Benny Tran charged forwards midway through the race with a big slide and a big catch at turn number 4. However, he would also slide back down the field at the end of the race. We didn't see this earlier on. Corey Gillett with a huge lockup down there into the turn, and then the spin for Ryder in the number 98 machine. He did get that back going, but he did finish all the way down, a couple of laps down in 23rd position overall. Out in front though, Sims was never really challenged in that one, was he? He took off into the distance, taking the victory by just over 12 seconds.
Yeah, good race there from our Plazmaman Australian Super Tin Tops there, and Matty Sims will get himself another race win. Been dominant weekend here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Let's head down to Victory Lane with Mel Price.
Matt Sims, another convincing victory there. You look a bit hot and flushed.
Yeah, it's quite hot in there, obviously, with the windows still up. We don't get much airflow, but terrible start that time, and the Honda had pressure on majority of the way until he fell off. Something's obviously happened, but then I could relax a little bit, which was good. So
what are the track conditions out there today? Is it slippery? Is there a bit more grip, oil on the track?
I do it's hard to compare because obviously first thing in the morning the track's really good, but you know the sun is quite hot today. I do think it is definitely a little bit greasy at the moment, so maybe that's just me.
It's not like you can wind your window down and let a bit of cool breeze come through?
No, that would be a smart idea though. It's very hot, so cool.
Well, it's been a good weekend so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, very happy. Yeah, good. Obviously a few issues here and there and a few mistakes by me. It's good to have a clean weekend and get it done, which is good. So
great stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, dominant weekend there from Matty Sims. He'll be pretty happy about that one. But this time we're going to downsize the vehicles a little bit. And Jared McLean is going to join me back in the commentary box because it's time for the TFH Hire Legend Cars Australia, sponsored by Tarache. It's great to see them down there in the pits, selling plenty of merchandise and stuff. He's got all the spares, all the safety gear.
Went down and had a chat with Greg, and yeah, he's got the kiosk set up. And I tell you what's been a roaring commodity down there? Race tape.
Yeah.
At an event like this, you'd think Sydney Motorsport Park, there is acres and acres of room to go racing and have your own piece of real estate. Race tape is a definite necessity when you're in as heavy a contact category as the Legend cars. I tell you what, the racing has been absolutely stellar. Tate will start from the front of grid. That one, yeah, it was great to see this morning.
Yeah, Shane Tate, and we saw him getting towed off a little bit later. I think it might have been after Victory Lane, the budget car and truck rentals vehicle. Dylan Thomas with a strong second position. Asker Sendor, who's been quick all weekend, out of third. And we just have a look through some of those names. Scotty Melville a little bit further down 18th. Surprised to see him there. Ryan Pring in 12th. That is going to be a talking point. The Aussie number 1 and also leading the championship as well. But over 30 cars here to come out in the TFH Hire Legend Cars Australia. Oh, well, have a look at the crowd starting to form up for this one. No surprise that when the legend cars come out, everyone sort of goes to the barriers, don't they? They all want to watch this one because we've seen them go 6 wide into turn 1.
It basically turns into a cage fight.
Yeah.
Matt, it basically turns into a carnage-filled cage fight, and the venue is the Sydney Sundown round here for Hi-Tec Oil's Super Series. Some slight cloudy conditions over there, so a dip in the track temperature in certain areas. As we front up to the line, we are getting ready for a race start. This is race 4 of the TFH Hire Legend Cars Australia. Tate and Thomas from the front row, ahead of Sendel and Williams in 3rd and 4th. As we get set, the lights go out, and it's a good run from Tate.
Thomas, have a look at that. Aidan Williams around the outside, the 95, the green and gold machine, and he's going to go to the right-hand side, take the long way round. Can Dylan Thomas hold on to this one? Looks like he will in the CXC machine, the 68. Oh, there's plenty of action to unfold here too. Askerson, a big break lock. Is that Nathan Predo? Sexy roofing, number 30 entry. And he goes wide. Ryan Pring just on the outside. Goodridge is a couple in front in the gold roof. Oh no, contact made. Asker Sendel and Aidan Williams. Look like they go wheel to wheel, and Asker Sendel just gets airborne for a moment.
I'll tell you what, you'd feel it in a car as small as this, as Tate leads us out over Williams. Look at him, 3 and 4 wide through the right-hander as they snake their way through. In the back half of the track now, they go way, way off course. We see Craig taking arguably the biggest bite out of that concrete apron.
Oh no. Oh. Ooh, is that Scotty Morgan in the 16? He just gets pushed to the outside a little bit. Has to go a little bit wide. A lot of defensive driving happening out there at the moment, and we'll just let these top 6 try and sort themselves out. Have a look at this. You could throw a tea towel over them as well. Good. The beach towel is in about 40.
I'll tell you what, looking back over the last few races that we've seen Asker Sendel, haven't we seen a level of maturity really grow in this young gun?
Yeah, I think a little bit of bad luck in the last round at One Raceway, and we know that he's probably going to miss a couple of rounds later on in the year, looking to go overseas and do a little bit of legend car racing as well. So he's not worried about a championship, and I think that the pressure taken off him this weekend, he's really been able to show the pace that he carries. Obviously a former go-kart racer in his younger years. I say younger years, he's still not even old enough to drink. Have a look at this, 2 wide as they go down the main straight. The toe there for Dylan Thomas. Can't get it done. Tate goes into the lead, the budget car and truck rentals entry.
Look at that, the toe worth, what are we talking, 5 kilometres an hour on the run into turn 1 as our top 3 lock tyres. And it is a frenetic scrabble for position. The 147 of Tate comes out on top over Thomas, with Williams rounding out your 3, Bennett and Craig. Your top 5 as we kick up some dust. Up the inside, is it a speculator from Thomas? Thomas decides to knuckle down and drop in line.
Good to see Tate at the front, driving it like a rental car.
Excellent.
Flat out.
Not a bad sponsorship.
Do you get a car
spot
like that
right
when
there?
you go to budget, do you?
Oh, there's 2 things. The 2 fastest cars on the face of the planet. There's a race car and a rental car.
Oh, here we go. Let's have a look at this one as it's about to be 7 cars in a line as Pring coming up onto the back of this one out of the ACT. We're just looking for the moment that someone has a look down the inside, aren't we? You just know the anticipation. We're waiting for it. Has a little look. Tate covers him off, though. No one really wants to go a little bit wide at this point as they head into turn number 8 in the hairpin. Asker Sendel right on the back of Craig, though. Can he try and get a launch out of that corner and close this up? As they head up to a brief little right-hander there at 9.
Having a look back, Ryan Pring has gone purple in sectors 1 and 2. Is looking to try and make his way up from 7th into the front of the pack. We'll catch more of him in no short order, I'm certain, as they make that headlong dash down. You couldn't get any closer. Thomas all over the back of Tate. Where will the move come? He's still tucked in behind, ducks to the outside. Tate covers off the inside line. They are flat tack into the inside on the exit. Has Tate put this one down, and has he dragged Williams with him? Williams goes 2 for 1 on the hairpin into turn 2 as Thomas defends.
I think Dylan Thomas was hoping for an undercut on both those cars there, but he's managed to follow Aidan Williams, which might be the sure bet here to hold on to that second position. Tate unfortunately goes 2 positions back, and have a look at Bernard now. Going to come up alongside, but can't get it done. Puts the nose in there. Sendel, Craig and Pring not too far behind him. But have a look at him closing the gap. It's almost down to less than half a second between 7 cars.
Way, way offline. I tell you what, talk about biting off as much as you can chew. Williams in that number 95 green and gold. Out to the right-hand side. Thomas
goes past him, yeah, gets him on turn number 6. Pring, though, like you say, he's fastest lap of the race so far. And he is closing down that gap. He won't be happy about starting out of 12th position. Of course, it was a reverse grid race in race number 3 this morning, so that's why we see a few of those names mixed up.
I'll tell you what, if you want someone to try and make a move through the pack, Pring is just about your odds-on favourite. He wears the number 1 for a reason. You can see him lurking with intent in the back of your shot there. Just picks off Craig in the number 20 machine and now sets his sights on Asker Sendel and the 55. Those bright green wheels, readily identifiable from any distance here around Sydney Motorsport Park.
Make sure we know it under lights too with the LEDs. As you see the snake train come out, all trying to break the toe, aren't they?
We saw this in the Yokohama Australian Drivers' Championship, and admittedly they were moving a hell of a lot quicker.
Contact, the Terps Tippers car's out there. He's digging, he's trenching. It's not what the Terps Tippers will want to see. Normally by day that's what they do, but you don't want to see it on the racetrack. And that's the 51 car. Brendan Hourigan. There was another car there to the left, so I don't know if there's been contact and 2 have gone around. We'll have to try and unfold exactly what happened there as these top 7 keep going at it. Craig's just dropped off a little bit now. Pushed it out to a second between the top 7 drivers.
Just under 9 minutes as we check out the replay here. There's Hourigan just getting collected by the 52. As he looked to come off. Thompson, trying to come down off and cover the inside line on the exit on the run to the home straight. And Hourigan, unfortunately, just collateral damage there.
Put a hand out the window there for Dylan Thomas, and maybe something has happened there. And he's just said, sorry. Oh, 51, yep, that's got a fair bit of damage to the Terps Tippers entry there, unfortunately for him.
Crabbing harder than a Sylvia with LS and Wisefab as we bring out the safety car. And it's a moment to collect yourself, regroup, and essentially get ready for the headlong run into the finish. We have just over 8 minutes remaining as the Hyundai safety car is activated.
The good news is that we have to get the tilt tray out. We can stick 3 legends on there. They'll all fit on if they need to. And look, you'll be upset about that one too. From Bungendore, just outside of the ACT. A few of them are around that area actually. See our legend car drivers. A few of them had to go at the dirt track version of these, and that's the beautiful thing about the legend cars. You can have the dirt track version.
So let's talk about the change. Like, what do you actually need to do to take one of these out on the dirt? Obviously, there's some setup.
A bit of setup there. I think they raise the height of the car as well, just to get it off the ground a little bit, and you might see a tyre change out there. I think for the speedway side of things. Oh no! Look at the extensive damage to the left rear of that car. That's sitting down low, and look, another great thing about the legend cars, obviously the spares truck sitting out there in our South Pit area, and they can get a lot of the parts. I've seen guys change complete diff housings, engines, like everything in these cars. They're very compact, easy to work on. The body panels come off. You know, it's small little setup changes on there as we get on board with our Hyundai safety car at the moment. This will condense the pack just a little bit. We had 7 cars at the front. This is just going to bring them even closer together.
Yeah, that headlong run for the final, potentially, what are we looking at? Maybe 3 laps on the run through. Williams leads out from Thomas with Tate in 3rd, Asker Sendel in 4th, Benno in the number 300 in 5th place. Ryan Pring has jumped himself up into 6th. Not a bad run at all in the early stages as we slow to a crawl out here behind the safety car.
Not as much UV out there on the track at the moment. Like no. It's not really a dark cloud that's come under the sun. It's more like a light cloud, but it's taking the UV away.
Oh, yes.
The temperature is going to go down just a bit on track.
I can tell you, because I'm doing more time outside than you, it's just about time to whip out the Hi-Tec or Super Series jacket.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good news.
It is good news.
Good news that it's going to cool down there. We do like a bit of cool air out there as these guys are going to condense the field down. The reverse grid race that they had in race number 3 earlier, the legend cars, that's what really changes them around. It's only the reverse top 10. That's why you see people like Pring starting out at 12. It really keeps the interest, I suppose, in the weekend and sort of moves him around a bit. At the moment, he is still leading the championship coming into this race, Ryan Pring, but very close between himself, Rob Hogan, Dylan Thomas, Aidan Williams and Shane Tate. So, you know, at the moment it's a 5-horse race. Still plenty of racing to go throughout the season, though.
I'll tell you what, perfect atmospheric conditions, while we're talking about weather, perfect atmospheric conditions for making power. These little 890cc 3-cylinder Yamaha CP2 motors, they make around about 120 horsepower, but obviously if you can cram as much cold air into them as possible, like we're seeing here, that is only going to help drivers shuffling gears through a sequential transmission. It's actually a motorcycle pattern, so neutral in between first and second, and then third, fourth, fifth, right through to sixth gear on these. Great overhead drone shots. Spot that corner for me.
Well, that looks like turn 8.
There we go.
Yeah, it looks like we've been here all weekend racing, haven't we, at Sydney Motorsport Park. It's a fantastic venue. Power lines running across the top. Means we're not going to see too many residential areas out here, which is great. We keep our big racetrack. It's like a little motorsport mecca here, isn't it? Of course, the racetrack here, you've got the skid pan in the middle, figure 8 over to one side, drag strip across the road as well. While we have this little safety car, let's head down to pit lane with Mel.
A very dejected looking Brendan Hourigan and a very clunky sounding number 51. What happened?
I think Robert Hogan went off in the last corner. When he came back on the track, the two cars on the track moved sideways and squeezes out to the wall.
So you've done a little bit of lawn mowing, it looks like.
We have. Yeah, it's not good, but here's what it is now.
I mean, it's been a really, you know, it's always the battle's so close and there's hardly ever any contact, but, you know, sometimes I guess rubbing's racing.
Yeah, definitely. This is what happens when you're racing, and it's pretty fierce through a whole field, so it's going to happen every now and then.
Well, hopefully the number 51's not too hard to fix.
No worries, thank you.
Yeah, Scott Thompson, he did. He's trying to avoid a car, trying to rejoin the track there, and unfortunately, Hogan just down the Hourigan down the inside. So that's unfortunate for the 51, former Australian champion as well. So sometimes you've got to take the blows of racing.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because admittedly it's been quite a while between drinks, but talking about round 1 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, Hourigan had a couple of off-track excursions at a very great rate of knots, and that, again, to be mowing the grass at, upwards of 100 k's an hour, that is an unfun time in anyone's language as we weave to keep some heat into those Nankangs.
Yeah, little 13-inch tyres. Just a radial tyre, nothing different to what you'd see on a road car. All obviously running the same tyre out there. Speaking to a few of them, there seems to be different setups in the car as well, because some people say when you put the new tyre on, they like to scrub them down a bit. And sometimes they've gone into a race with a half set of tyres and they've actually been a little bit faster. So different surfaces that they race on and different racetracks, they might change their tyres around a little bit.
A time-certain race means that the clock is still ticking as we while away the laps behind the Hyundai safety car. Just going 3 minutes left before we show them the last lap board. It'd be a poor way to finish this TFH Hire Legend Cars Australia Championship Race 4 if it were behind the Hyundai safety car. So fingers crossed that we get that machine off the side of pit straight and get back underway as soon as possible, as we just take in this incredible track. We've seen this surface throw some curveballs, obviously, as we change from day to night. Again, it is the Sydney Sundown event. And some people, as you were mentioning in an earlier race, are able to really latch on to that changing conditions, particularly in those smaller horsepower categories like your Formula Vs, Formula Fords.
Yeah, a couple of bits of talk up and down pit lane also about the different rubber from the different tyres in each category as well. So we see it obviously like supercars like to come out after the Porsche racer and things like that. It just seems to be that tyre combination works for them. So potentially you could see these guys come out in the Nankang radial, but then we send out a car like a TO2 car and the different rubber on the track not necessarily gives you the best potential traction. Maybe that's something that some of the drivers are looking at as well. We've seen a lot of cars sliding around last night when it started to cool down into those single digits. So don't know whether it's just been trying to activate the temperature into the tyre or whether we're just seeing some different conditions out there for the cars. Unfortunately, last night we did see a little bit of fluid out there on the track and of the slippery variety.
Yeah, not to point any fingers, but a couple of our TA2 drivers and cars releasing some lubricants in areas where they possibly shouldn't, and just in that super fine aerosolized nature that just loves to spread and coat the entire racing line. It is a massive 2-day affair here at Sydney Motorsport Park, our little slice of heaven, and doesn't it look heavenly indeed? as
we're going to see the safety car go off because we are less than 1 minute remaining. We know these cars. Yes, they are. We're going to get a one-lap dash.
oh,
It's just going to be a one-lap dash. Aidan Williams going to lead this out. Dylan Thomas, very experienced when it comes to moments like this. Shane Tate just behind. Then it's Asker Sendel, Bernard, Pring, Craig, Kamanaweri, Goodridge and Tippett are your top 10. And how do they get the start underway? Aidan Williams with a nice drive. Dylan Thomas goes with him, but it's caught sleeping there. Tate, there's a little bit of smoke in the background. Not quite sure if anything happened down there. Potentially someone pushed to the outside of the track.
Thomas draws up alongside Williams on the run into turn 2. Williams needs to come across, shuts the door. Can he get the car rotated? Holds that midline, tightens up on the exit. Tate has followed Thomas through. They maintain that proximity, bouncing over the sawtooth curb. A sudden burst of speed out of Thomas there. These things really putting the power to the ground.
They're not going to have long to try and make a move. And have a look at Dylan Thomas. He knows it's a CXC entry. Oh, just sticks to the outside.
Line.
Yeah, he wants to get on the right line. I think he needs the exit speed of the curves. Oh, no, look at that. Williams goes wide.
Didn't look to hurt him too much, but it has drawn Thomas a little bit closer.
How much extra track are they allowed to use? That is the question.
Yes.
Ryan Pring now having a look at Bernard up there. Can he get into a top 5 position? It's a championship that he's fighting for. In the meantime, Tate, the 147 budget car rentals entry, just waiting. And Asker Sendel, who's been really quick all weekend, just in 4th. There's nothing in it now. Less than half a second between our top 6.
This is the run now through 9 and 10 as they are about to head towards the start-finish straight for the final time. Your final lap, and Williams leads out Thomas. It's all going to be about who gets the drive off the final corner as they make the run down the hill.
Thomas with the toe. Can he make it work for him? Williams defensive, moves across. Thomas going to look on the side. Oh no, wheel-to-wheel contact. Thomas goes up in the air, but he manages to maintain control and will end up with 2nd position over Tate, Sendel, Bernard, Pring, Craig in 7th, and Kamanaweri, Goodridge and Tippett to round out your top 10. Wow, that could have been explosive at the end.
That had the potential for disaster. I hope that there's onboards that Dylan Thomas can send our way after this race, because the in-car footage is going to be absolutely wild, Matt.
Yeah, hand goes out the window. He knows he got just a little bit too close there, but it looks like the guys are all good about that. Let's have a look at a little highlight of this. This was the start. Now we're looking for the smoke. Is that 2 cars hitting each other in the back?
There we go. Riding wheels further back in the pack, but we still got the green light.
There's a few white cars there. I'm not quite sure which one it is. This is over the finish line. And we're talking metres before the finish line.
That is completely tapped out. Foot to the firewall as hard as you can be running as we check out some skid pan action. This was the results of race 4. Aidan Williams takes it out in an absolute squeaker. Dylan Thomas doing everything he can in 2nd, with Shane Tate rounding out your podium. Asker Sendel in 4th. Josh Bernard in 5th in the 300. Ryan Pring, your number 1 from 6th place. And Josh Craig in 7th, with Maverick Kamanaweri in 8th place. A stacked field.
There's a stacked field there. Chris Spicer managed to get his way back up to 15th. Scotty Morgan in 13th, not a bad little finish from him. Nathan Preda had a massive moment in the opening moments of that race.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Started from 7th, finished in 17th.
He came flying in, didn't he? And he locked those brakes up. So a big moment for him. Unfortunately, we did see a couple of cars that retired from this race. Obviously, we're going to see Hourigan there. He's got a little bit of damage, and can we see him come out later on this afternoon for the final race of the weekend here for the TFH Hire Legend cars? As Aidan Williams, well, that could have been a scary moment when contact was made. Dylan Thomas just trying to get that toe out of him, and he'll come over and have a couple of words. And, you know, the experience there, they're going to have a little bit of a chat about exactly what happened on. Now, if you want to know about the cloud cover at the moment, Dylan Thomas is probably the man to ask, because he was looking up at the sky for just a moment there. But Aidan Williams, you can see a young gun coming through the field, managing to get himself a race win in this one. He's had some fantastic finishes. Took a clean round at one raceway just a few weeks ago. Won all 4 races, but Sydney Motorsport Park. Well, he's had a 2nd place finish earlier this weekend, yesterday. Here's a little bit of a replay, some highlights of the race so far. Dylan Thomas didn't get a bad start, but Aidan Williams just went around the outside. This is Nathan Preda with an early lock-up into turn number 2. Went wide in the sexy roofing number 30. And unfortunately dropped down the field just a little bit of contact made there with Asker Sendel and Aidan Williams. And Ascasel did everything he could to try and make his way back from that. Have a look at Dylan Thomas, though, with the toe on Shane Tate. They went bumper to bumper, a little bit of Morse code here, but Aidan Williams just sitting in the back took a big advantage and under brakes managed to get Dylan Thomas up the inside of Tate. Took the lead of the race for the first time out of this. And then Tate relegated back to third position as Dylan Thomas just came down the inside following Williams. This was a big moment, though, where anything could have happened because, as we saw, it was Hogan just rejoining from the outside. Unfortunately, we saw Thomas come down and make contact with Hourigan, and a fair bit of damage sustained to that car before safety car chewed up a number of minutes in this before we went for a final lap dash. 1 lap to get it done. Dylan Thomas trying everything at the start. A couple of cars in the background, we're not quite sure who that was, making contact, so a bit of a concertina effect under brakes. Dylan Thomas, he knew he had to wait for the final corners there. Aidan Williams out of 5 went really, really wide, and Dylan Thomas couldn't take advantage of that one. Knowing how important it is to get the toe onto the main straight, and that can be the difference between first and second. Have a look at this. He was right on the back bar. He tried to get as close as possible. Aidan Williams snaking over the track, a little bit defensive there. And as Dylan Thomas moved out, didn't quite move over enough. Wheel-to-wheel contact went up in the air, but luckily the 68 machine came down and still managed to get home in second position. Well, plenty to have a look at in those highlights. Let's head down, though, to Victory Lane with Mel Price.
Wowee, what a finish. Aidan Williams, you must have been looking in your mirror at the restart thinking, is he going to go left, is he going to go right, but he was going to go over the top.
Yeah, it was very tough out there, especially on the start, got a good jump, tried to get to the lead in turn 1, didn't quite happen, and then free wide into turn 2 just to get the lead, and yeah, it was crazy, especially across the line. I didn't know what was going on there, but it's fine, just hard racing. So tell me, with the 1 lap dash, do you want to be starting in first position, or do you want to be going for that slipstream? Probably don't want to be starting in first position because that slipstream down the main straight is mega, but starting in first did quite help. I got the run through the middle section, so I just had that little edge down the main straight. Action-packed, a little bit of a tyre rubber to wash off before the next race, but no damage. Yeah, no damage to the car. It should be fine, so looking forward to the next one. Thank you.
Yeah, great, some excited young man, isn't he, down there in pit lane. Aidan Williams getting his first win of this round when it comes to TFH Hire. Legend Cars Australia, sponsored by Simpson Tarace. Whoa, I tell you what, Dan McCarthy joins me back in the commentary box for some of the fastest cars. We see some of the most innovative cars by name as well, and nature. Innovation race cars out on track at the moment. Unfortunately, sustained a couple of, I suppose, retirees in this one already, so we're down to just 4 cars for this race this afternoon, but we love seeing him out on track, and we're about to see if Emery can hold on to that perfect run he's had so far this weekend.
Yeah, 2 victories from 2 for Jeff Emery, a stalwart of GT3 competition in years gone by, but recently purchased an innovation race car and is out in front in this one. This is round 1 of their endurance series. They've had a couple of sprint races, and under lights they've had a couple of endurance races as well, 50-minute endurance races with a compulsory pit stop. Not too many cars this round, but this is a category that we expect to grow and grow as the year goes on.
Yeah, we'll wait and see how they build their numbers up here. I mean, we have seen the likes of GT3 potentially coming in to have a bit of a look at this category as well and join them in the ranks. Obviously, the mark cars are the evolution to the innovation race cars. So hence we see that at the back of the pack. Some of the, I suppose, what do you want to call them? The birth of innovation race cars.
Yes, yeah. Previously known as mark cars, you had 2 generations, Mark 1, Mark 2. Before it's bought and renamed as Innovation Race Cars. So, yeah, a bit of a move to just changing the name, but effectively still the same company. But here is the grid then. Emery from pole. Alongside of him will be the man behind the series, Danny Stoddard, the owner of Innovation Race Cars. John Hollinger retired from yesterday's second race on the very final lap, so he'll be looking to finish where he starts or even move forward. John Crossing rounding out the field. Timothy Leithhead, he's had problems all weekend long with a variety of different problems, mainly electronical though. Sort of traction control issues, ABS issues, kicking in and out, making life very difficult for him.
Yeah, you know, that can lead to all sorts of things that they won't want to risk in these cars. A lot of data acquisition happening as the cars get around. You can see the computers on board as well. So it's not just taking engine temperature and RPM, they're taking to things like brake pressures, wheel speed sensors, you know, lots of other things to do with the engine as well, a lot of electronic management on that. So They're not going to risk it. If they're starting to have electrical gremlins, potentially something could be going wrong as we set up for a race start here for the Innovation Race Cars. I had another qualifying session this morning, and now we're about to get underway with their race 1 of this Saturday. Day 2 of competition here at the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series at the Sydney Sundown. Lights go out and we're underway. Have a look on board with John Hollinger in the 23, coming out of 3rd position, but Emery gets away nicely with Studdard, just pulling him behind. Hollinger slots into 3rd position.
How good was that onboard? We can see the lights from where we were down on the run towards turn 1. That was a great onboard camera, just showing exactly what the drivers are seeing. Emery there got a little bit crossed up, and I think he caught a bit more curb on the inside than what he would have wanted, and as a result, Danny Stoddard is as close as he's been this weekend, looking on the tail of the fellow Innovation Race Car. But where can he go through? Up the inside, maybe at turn number 5. No, not able to do so on this occasion, but Stoddard can't go too hard, or else he may leave himself vulnerable to the man that we're riding on board with. John Hollinger in the number 23 machine, the Hollinger Racing driver. Got a few different states out there. Out there represented. We've got Victoria, Queensland, and New South Wales. So a real state versus state battle. But currently out in front, it's the Queenslander Jeff Emery ahead of the Victorian of Danny Stoddard out there at the moment. So they've come here to New South Wales, and they are thoroughly enjoying themselves. Emery, as I say, used to race GT3 cars back in the day. Stoddard on weekends when he's not in one of these machines, he races in Porsche Carrera Cup. So he was here earlier on in the year, so he's always got racing miles underneath his belt. And great that he's turning his passion into a living with Innovation Race Cars. Australian made and produced.
Likes to go and do a lot of endurance racing as well in New Zealand, over in Europe, 12-hour, 24-hour races, things like that. So it really built around a team sport as well, which is why we see these cars have not just a sprint round but endurance round. So they're going to alternate that. Obviously, round 1 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series was a sprint round, round 2 an enduro, and that's how it'll go. All of our odd rounds will end up being a sprint round for these cars. All of our even rounds will end up being a little bit of an endurance race. So they have a sprint race just to sort of seed themselves after qualifying, and then they'll go into the endurance race later on today. Emery had that little rare mistake at the start of this race, didn't he? In turn number 2, went right over the ripple strip, which I thought was a bit weird for me, but maybe that is just trying to bring the tyres up to temperature at the moment as they head over this glorious part over the top of turn number 7 here at Sydney Motorsport Park, down to turn 8 of the hairpin. And at the moment, these cars will just be getting warmed up, designed to do things like the 12-hour and 6-hour races. Start to see these cars do a little bit more endurance throughout the following years as the popularity starts to build. Got to build these cars up, don't you? Especially being Australian made. Get on order. A lot of people started to show a fair bit of interest in these cars.
I talked to Danny quite recently, and every couple of weeks he's telling me, oh yeah, we've sold another car, we've sold another car. Whether that's in Australia or overseas, they're beginning to branch out as well internationally, which is really, really cool. But the cars that we can see on the screen, powered by an LS3 6.2 litre V8 engine, 550 brake horsepower at 6,200 RPM. So they certainly do have a fair bit of poke underneath the bonnet. J-Mac, down to you.
Down here with Dennis Panner, a personality up and down the pits and in racing here in Australia. Dennis, there are some big plans with AASA and Hi-Tec Oil Super Series and yourself for the 2026 season, aren't there?
Yeah, that's something that's come along in the last... we've been putting it together for the last couple of months. We've just taken over the V8 touring cars, which were also known as the Kumo Series, Super 3. They've had a few names in the background. We worked it out with Gary Rogers Motorsport and Barry. Big thank you to them. So we've taken them over, spoke to AASA, and they're happy to give us a platform for us to run in. So we're very stoked for the next year that's coming along.
For a bit of context, these are some V8s that have been seminal parts of, I know, my upbringing. They are from a golden era of competition. How does it feel to be involved in that?
Oh, look, it's a dream come true for me, because at the end of the day, we all grew up with that. You're either red or you're blue. You're NRL or you're AFL. So to have these cars, and then I felt that they were just put on a shelf somewhere and forgotten, and like they were hidden. And that's not the case. This is our history. And I want our history to be out here. I want the granddads, the dads, the kids to come out, look at these cars, feel them. And look, we all grew up, the whole era in that. That's what we all did. And even till today, people are still there, either red or blue. That's what they're following. It's a shame to have them hidden away somewhere.
Well, we are definitely looking forward to the upcoming announcement of which rounds we'll see these cars at. Dennis, mate, you're doing racing a service.
Look, there is in the background, these cars might appear at the end of the year at the Winton round, so we might have the last round, something that we've been discussed. But between now and then, there's a lot of work to be done. We're going to get the competitors together, ask them what they want, what they're looking for, how they want this series to be run. Ultimately, it's their cars, their series, they're the guys. So you've got to take that into consideration. My job is just to give them a platform and give them the tools that they need in order for them to be out there.
Well, watch this space. There'll be more to come.
Oh, in the meantime, while we're down to Dennis Panna, great announcement from them. Emery seems to have had a drama potentially with the tyre on this car. By the looks of things, you can see that unfold. Is that delaminated at the moment, Dan? That's what it looks like.
I saw a lot of tyre debris down at turn number 1. There were bits of rubber flying everywhere, and I thought, I don't think that's debris that they've flicked up. I think that's from a car. And then over the next couple of corners, we saw Jeff Emery really struggling. As you say, he's taken 2 from 2 so far this weekend. But this is not the way he would have wanted to kick off Sunday, and he will definitely bring that car into the lane. You can see it's certainly not tracking right down pit straight as he comes into the lane. No surprises there whatsoever. But yeah, great news about V8 touring cars joining the Hi-Tec Super Series for season 2026.
Yeah, it'd be great to have them back out there in the traditional Australian-made blue and red, isn't it? Like the Holden versus Ford. We'll reignite that battle, I think, when they get out on track under the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. We'll wait to see what our crew can do down there in pit lane and find out what is going on with the Emery machine, because although he seemed to have a little bit of pace over Studdard, if he goes a lap down or something like that, I don't think we're going to see enough speed out of that car, as they seem to be checking. Car is turned off, though, which isn't a great sign. I do love the fact they've got the go jacks on these cars. You can put them in under the air pressure, Get the nitrogen bottles.
But that's why they're able to run in all those endurance races around the world, of course. You can't just get a jackman to come out and prop the car up and whatever. You've got to have things like that. And we've seen them in even the Bathurst 12-hour in years gone by. And we are hearing from down in the lane the confirmation of a tyre delamination, the reason for Emery's unscheduled pit stop, and it really does put pay to what's been a perfect weekend to this point. He is now at the back of the field behind John Crossing in the older Mark 1 Ford Focus. And there, look at that, a big slab of tyre has come off there. You can see it just in the back of the shot. That's a big delamination.
Massive, and the problem with that is when that tyre's flapping around in the background, you don't know what damage that's potentially done to brake lines, electronics, speed sensors, things like that the car is using to try and adjust itself throughout its racing. So you can just see the crew just taking a moment to check all that out. Doesn't look like it's done any damage, but potentially that could cause a few more issues, as we've still got 17 minutes remaining in this race.
Here we go across the line once again. I was just talking about John Crossing. So this a Mark 1 Ford Focus. So a few years older. These were built back in 2014, 2015, around about then. And a bit of an older spec car. So a bit smaller engine capacity. Around about the same horsepower though, but a 5-litre V8 Coyote engine. And it's a bit smaller. And as well, it doesn't have the flappy paddles. It's got a sequential gearbox, the Mark 1s as well.
It's got a real man's gearbox. Yes, I like it. And obviously come from some karting as well. Crossing, did that in his younger years and got back into it in his 40s. Went a little bit of dirt karting before getting into XL racing, which we see so many people do now. It was a really competitive and cheap way of getting into motorsport a number of years ago. Now it's just blossomed into this massive category of racing, XLs around Australia. Fortunate enough to get into a Mark car last year and take out the championship as well. Yeah,
absolutely. A good point you make there. They're pretty simple to run though. They might be pretty, fast machines, but they're not you know, hugely high tech. You know, for example, they only run 98 octane. You know, it's nothing spectacular on that side of things, and it's just it's a 120 litre fuel tank while we're on the subject of petrol. But on the tail now of the lapped runner, so it's taken just a smidge under 10 minutes to come up on the lap traffic. So the difference between the two cars, around about 5 seconds a lap between a Mark 1 and a current spec innovation race car as it flies across the line. As I say, it does have a lot of the modern things that you expect to see, a Motec M150 ECU, steering wheel, selectable throttle and traction control mapping. So like you see with modern GT3 cars, as they're going around, they can change their engine settings on the steering wheel. They can also alter as well the traction control and ABS settings as well as they're going. So potentially, you know, if the tyres are going off, you might want to turn the traction control up just a little bit to take the work off you. So there's all those things that you'd expect on modern GT machinery.
I'll take nothing away from this. You still really have to push these cars as you get around, and you never know what is going to happen. Like we saw from Latham this weekend, lost the ABS, lost the traction control, so had to really wrestle the car around here this weekend, and unfortunately not seeing him out in this race. Let's get on board, though, with John Hollinger for a lap around Sydney Motorsport Park. Cars. Listen to it accelerate down the main straight here. John Hollinger in second position, chasing down Danny Studdard, and he's really closed that gap down under 2 seconds now. It was blown out nearly to 4 seconds earlier in this race. So the Hollinger engineering entry, Mustang, seems to be finding a little bit of pace potentially as the time goes on. That tyre really coming into its, I suppose, its temperature range where it's getting a lot of traction, and that's the difference with these cars that do the endurance racing. You want to try and look after the tyre, and they've still got another big race to go on tonight as well, 50 minutes, so they won't be trying to push it too much. Someone who might be pushing on is Emery at the moment, who's obviously back on in front of, on the same lap as Crossing, but hasn't come around to lap them. Let's head down to pit lane though with Mel Price.
Well, speaking of tyres, got it still very warm but very unhappy Yokohama here off Jeff Emery's car. You can see where the tyres delaminated. I was talking to the team. They said often that's the result of a puncture, but there's no evidence here of that, and the fact that there's a straight line strip just here might suggest otherwise. But the team have been taking photos of the serial numbers, and I'm sure they'll chat to Yokohama and figure out what's going on there so it doesn't happen again.
And that's where they work closely a lot with their tyre manufacturers, don't they, these categories, because it's unusual to have something like that, maybe maybe a little defect in the tyre or potentially or something. To have a clean cut like that, I think, across that side, maybe a join or something, because normally, like you say, if they picked up a punch or a bit of debris, it would be a strip coming off it or something. It'd be a very jagged edge.
Yeah, completely agree. Very rare to see any issues with the Yokohamas, as Mel pointed out down there. John Hollinger on that last lap, very, very tight between the two. 0.02 of a second separated their last lap times. Danny Studdard, the slight faster of the two. We spoke about the fact that Studdard has done a lot of endurance racing. He's taken these cars overseas to Spa and competed in racing at Spa-Francorchamps, and he describes that as the best circuit that he's ever raced on. And I think there'd be quite a few people around the globe, even Formula One drivers, that would agree with that.
There's a few people who might like to get their hands on these. We had Brody Kostecki in one of these cars, didn't we? He did a few laps on these and described them as a fun, fast car to get behind the wheel of as well. So there's been a few, I suppose, Australian personalities in the racing scene that have had a couple of laps behind the wheel of these cars, and a little bit of interest out there as well. Hence why we see so many of them starting to be built not just in Australia, but for the overseas market as well. Hopefully all that can start to come together in the following rounds there as we build this category into something that is going to be spectacular to watch, especially in an endurance format.
Yeah, what we're expecting as the year goes on in these enduro rounds is that they will share drivers. We'll have 2 driver combinations, so the pit stops, there'll be strategy involved. Each sprint race, as I say, there's 2 sprint races and 2 enduros. Driver A will do sprint race 1, Driver B will do sprint race 2, and then they will share for both of the endurance races. So that's going to be an added element as this year continues to go by. John Hollinger, though, on that last lap, I said they were close the lap before, but last time over the stripe, just 6/10, a massive 6/10 taken out of the race lead. So the margin down to 1.3 seconds between these two in sector number 1. Danny Studdard tries to respond, but again, he's a 10th down in the opening section of this lap. So certainly coming down. We haven't seen this all weekend long. They've all been pretty separated. It's been Emery from Studdard, from Hollinger, but great to see John Hollinger really going with the number 10 driven car by Danny Studdard out there at the moment. I'm looking for the end of sector 2 split. I'm trying to see visibly, has he gained a bit? I'm not sure he has in sector 2, and he gets a bit squirrely out of the hairpin, trying to get the power down as early as possible, and I think that cost him a little bit of time on the exit of the corner, and he lost 0.4 of a second. So Studdard certainly doing his best to respond. They're ebbing and flowing at the moment. There's still plenty left in this race. 8 minutes remaining on the clock, and that is still plenty of time with a 2-second margin for Hollinger, John Hollinger, to not only catch but pass our race leader out there on the race circuit.
Well, you can see Studdard, can't he? You can feel it, like he can close this gap up. He's only going to do it by 1/10 of a second. As Studdard goes wide in this one, has he just chosen a different line? We'll wait and see in the exit speed. Hollinger may have made up a little bit of a gap there. He's just catching up a 10th in various sectors. Hollinger just can't make a mistake, can't afford to make a mistake at this point. He needs to stay in the back of Studdard, keep it nice and smooth, clean lines.
Another 10th gained by Hollinger in sector number 1, and he's using all the road and some on the exit of turn number 5. You can see in the mirror his full concentration. He's staring at that car down the road. He's got a target, a little carrot dangling in front of him, and he's going to try and hunt down the rabbit in front with the carrot.
We see those little times, don't we, the gap to the leader just go up and down a little bit. There's certain sectors where John Hollinger seems to be a little bit stronger over Danny Studdard, and then Studdard gets a little bit of an advantage back in a sector 2 by the looks of it. Just goes a little bit faster there by a couple of tenths. Main straight, let's have a look at how fast they can go coming onto here. Fastest so far, we've seen 246 kilometres an hour down this main straight. Really get a chance to stretch the legs and open up all 8 cylinders. Put that 120 litre fuel tank to the test. With that 244 kilometres an hour this time as they go down the main straight.
So fast, so committed through turn number 1. If there's a corner that suits these cars best, not only in this track but in the country, full stop, it's got to be turn 1 at Sydney Motorsport Park, maybe turn 1 at Phillip Island as well. That's another fast sweeping corner, but those 2 tracks so well suited to these machines. You see the downforce, although it looks like Studdard's lost a little bit actually. He's a little bit just flapping there on the front corner of the front wing there, so just a little skirt on the side that's come a little bit loose. Shouldn't affect him too badly. As we turn our attention back to Emery. And he's lapping at the moment around about the same times as the race leaders, although he comes on to pit straight. That was a short shift. There was no doubt that was the short shift. In these cars, as we say with the traction control, you don't need to think about things like short shifting. You should just be able to plant the foot to the floor and let the electronics do the work. So maybe he's just saving his tyres for the endurance race this afternoon. He's going, look, the best I'm going to do here is position number 4. But if I think about it, think ahead, I might be able to come through and take the victory later on this evening if I save my tyres well.
Especially he's had to put one green tyre on the back of that car. Potentially that might set that a little bit off balance, trying to keep their tyre wear even across the weekend. So as he goes around, Emery still 1.8 laps down at the moment on our leader. Not going to get back onto the lead lap at this point. So like you say, better to conserve some tyres, keep circling around there, maintain those points in 4th position, and then we'll start this endurance race later on this evening, especially once the sun has gone down and the lights are on here at Sydney Motorsport Park. We're going to light the place up. Fantastic 132 LED lights that make sure that our drivers have daylight out there, the darkness to the side of the track. But the bitumen's got a clear line for all of our drivers to get this racing done.
Certainly does, but looking around, there's not been much UV on the circuit the last hour or so, has there? And it certainly looks to me like it's becoming pretty overcast this evening. Not expecting any rain, but cloud cover we were expecting, and I think it could see that the night may come a little bit earlier than what we expect, and we could be in for quite a brisk evening, I feel, here this evening as we ride back on board with John Hollinger. Studdard has responded in the last couple of laps. He's edged away. He's 0.6 already faster on this lap alone. So Hollinger in the mid-race point really did put down a bit of a challenge there on Studdard, but it looks to me like Studdard has the answers at this point.
Yeah, potentially also managing that gap, isn't he? If his crew are talking to him, very experienced, like we say, done a lot of endurance racing. Studdard overseas, you know, as well as New Zealand and Australia. I think they're just trying to manage this lead at the moment over John Hollinger. No need to do anything silly. Now that Emery has had that unfortunate delamination of the tyre, putting 1.8 laps back, there's no need to keep pushing the car at this point.
It's a good recovery, though, from Hollinger after the DNF in yesterday's feature race, the endurance race. He did 17 of the 18 laps, and he was inside on the podium places. However, a bit of a late race heartbreak meant that he did not see the checkered flag, which is, as you say, crucial really. You know, he was right in the fight. However, it was not to be. It was a good battle actually in the feature race yesterday between Emery and Studdard. Emery took off pretty early on in the race. Studdard dropped back several positions early on in the race. He came in at the earliest possible moment in the compulsory pit stop, got clear track, set some great lap times once he came out the pits. And once the pit cycle had been completed, he was only a couple of seconds behind Jeff Emery. However, late on, Emery saw the challenge, responded, and was able to pull out a couple of seconds by the end of the race. But it was a great strategy from the Studdard team to think, yeah, okay, we don't have the best track position here. Let's pit, get some clear air, and make some moves in clear air and emerge ahead, and that's exactly what happened. Good strategy from those guys, and that's what I love about endurance racing. Pit stops, it's that added incentive and added strategy that makes endurance racing.
Just having a look at the front splitter there of Danny Studdard's car on the right-hand side, you can just see something a little bit loose on there. Potentially may have been a little of a hit a curb or something like that. Some of the fiberglass or the carbon fiber bodywork on the front splitter just hanging off at the moment. It doesn't seem to be affecting the car at all, but we worry about the debris. Yesterday we saw a tail shaft come out, left a bit of debris on the track. Brock Payne ran that over in the TFHI muscle cars, and blown tyre, which, you know, with a fiberglass or a carbon fiber body, once that tyre starts moving around, just the mass of it as it gets flicked up and down, took out a lot of bodywork on that car, and they had a big job to repair that. So you're always watching these tyres, potentially if there's something out on track that could be causing a cut in one of the tyres.
The point system really does benefit finishing. Points go down to 15th, 16th position. We don't have that many cars this weekend, and what that means is we mentioned it about the retirement from Hollinger yesterday, a total of no points. However, although he might be nearly 2 laps down, Jeff Emery will finish in 4th. He'll get 17 points for that, which is only 8 less than the race leader, Danny Studdard. So there's a huge loss between finishing 4th or 5th and finishing and getting no points whatsoever. So it's a very interesting point that we should raise, how important it is to finish in these races. And for the round, this is going to cost Emery a few points. However, he should still retain the round lead going into the final race of the weekend. If things stay the way they are, Emery will be on 67 points, Studdard 65 points. However, despite Hollinger being the 3rd fastest all weekend, the retirement means he is only on 38 points. So it's going to be all to play for come the race this evening, this 50-minute race. If Emery has any more tyre issues or anything like that, Studdard may steal the round victory from the Queenslander. But we see the margins come down a little bit on this final lap as Danny Studdard negotiated the lap traffic, and he's coming up on the tail as well of Jeff Emery just a little bit further down the road. Studdard goes through turn number 8 just ahead of Hollinger, and here around the final couple of corners comes our race leader. We're on board though with Hollinger, who's throwing everything at it here in the final sequence of corners, but it's a little bit of a case of too little too late for him in the end. Well, Danny Studdard has started this series, and this is going to be his first victory in the series. Danny Studdard takes it by less than a second in the end. Hollinger just 0.3 behind as they came across the line, and John Crossing finishing a lap down in position number 3. Hollinger came late on, but not quite enough.
Oh, I think Emery's going to have to go around for another lap too to take the checkered flag, because he wasn't behind Studdard there. I think maybe he was hoping just to end this race a little bit early. So disappointing there to see him cut that tyre and it did laminate. But here's your results. Danny Studdard with the win over John Hollinger, which in the end was, yes, under half a second, with John Crossing a lap down and Jeff Emery almost 2 laps behind, having to come into pit lane and change that rear right-hand tyre. Timothy Lathard unfortunately did not start this race in the Innovation Race Cars race number 3. We will see them back for the final race of tonight here at the Sydney Sundown, as they've got a 50-minute enduro where they will have some pit stop strategy to take into place. It was great to be on board with John Hollinger and the Hollinger Engineering Mustang here throughout this race. As you can see the tacho going up there on the top of their screen on right-hand side. Paddle shifts, much like you see on a simulator when people try to get involved in that, being able to go up and down gears. So much on board these cars, it just makes them into that GT style race car that we see, the Innovation Race Cars. Checkered flag for this race number 3. Just a little 25-minute race for them to get out and about as the sun is starting to go down in the background here at Sydney. We've got about an hour and a half before we'll see sunset, just after 5 p.m. here this afternoon. And of course the lights will be on. It's a fantastic venue to be at. If you are here in Sydney, happy to make your way down to the track and join us here. It's going to be a big night of racing. The TA2 muscle cars always puts on some exciting racing, as it looks like Emery will cross the finish line now to make sure they get as many points as possible and try and recover this round at the moment. Still leading the points after this race despite that unfortunate moment. And it's all down to the endurance race tonight. Of course, it's got a big championship only in the second round of 6 rounds for the Innovation Race Cars, so a little bit of work still to go as the West Coast Windows entry will go and regroup now down in the pits. They'll be having a look at those tyres, I reckon, too, to see what they're going to do with that right-hand tyre. Fortunately enough, I think there was only a handful of laps before that tyre got cut, so it might not be too much of a difference. Danny Studdard will get out, and I'm sure he'll be happy with a round win. He'll know it's probably not the way he wanted to take it there. He would have liked to have been side by side with Emery.
Yeah, still that one endurance race later on this evening, which will conclude the final day here of the Hi-Tec Super Series. That race set to take place at 9:25 here locally. So looking forward to that one. See if Studdard can take the fight to Emery, or will Emery come marching through? We'll have to wait and see. But Mel, you're down there with our race winner.
Big smiles, Danny Studdard. First race victory in this series. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was a lot of fun. First couple of laps was willing and Jeff was in front, and unfortunately delaminated a tyre, I think, so it was just rubbing on the guard and I could see it coming off. So poor bugger, but we're having some fun up to that point. It was really good fun.
And you didn't have it all your own way in the end either, less than a second?
Yeah, John was on me the whole time, like you had to push. I was trying to protect tyres to a point, but there was no chance really to do it because he was hustling and pushing me all the way. It was good fun.
So one more big race to come this evening. How are you feeling?
Yeah, really good. Looking forward to it under lights. I mean, what a place to come and race. And tyre management will be the thing because these are getting old and we've got 6 tyres for the whole weekend. So it'll be about management, which will be fun.
Tyres certainly the word of the day now, isn't it?
Certainly is. It certainly is. There'll be some changing and working out what to do. So all cool.
Huge congratulations.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, Danny Studdard, all smiles down the Innovation Race cars. Well, let's go to something that's a bit more familiar for the people at home. Of course, the Replica Tourers Trophy Series down here in Sydney Motorsport Park. And great to have them joining us in 2025. We did see them up at Queensland Raceway in our 2024 season. And it's more of these iconic, I suppose, Group C cars that we see getting around. Anything that's been a touring car at some stage is actually eligible to be taking part in this racing. Within that, though, we do have our different categories as well. Obviously, depending on the power to weight ratio of the car, we've got our 2-litre classes and 3.5-litre classes and things like that as well. But of course, we've got plenty of engine swaps in this one. See a lot of Group C Commodores, like the VK, VC Commodores. Got the LS combination swap in those. We've seen K35 Corolla, which is just coming over there. We've seen some beautiful Escorts as well. And this is how it's all going to start. The Replica Tourist Trophy Series, race number 4, starting grid. Shane Stewart will be alongside Jason Grimmer. Then it goes back to Ridley and Neil, Ross and Anthony's, Smallwood and Wilson, and Scholes and Christie will be on the 5th row of the grid. Keep going on. It's our Replica Tourers here. Rowe and Mooney will be on the 6th row with Pfeiffer and Hinton a lot behind. Everett and Burgess on the 8th row. Love and Much Easy on the 9th. Moore and Burgess will be in 19th and 20th on the 10th row of the grid. Big field here this weekend. Walker and Hatton, then it is, with Simpson followed by Hay, then Robertson and Gillespie, Morale and Woodward, Rice and Davidson will round out our 15th row. Great to have so many of the cars joining us. Over 30 entries here this weekend, and it looks like haven't lost many through attrition either, which sometimes we see in these big fields of race cars. Watch for the BMW there. That's been very, very fast. We also know that Grimmond in that Coca-Cola Commodore took advantage of race number 2 there to get a very final victory, didn't he, in the final moments there. Big run. So we'll wait and see how this all unfolds in the Replica Tourers.
So far this weekend, we've had 3 different winners in this series. Can we make it 4 from 4? Well, the Kangaroos want to see what exactly is going to happen in this Replica Tourers series. And why wouldn't they? The action here at the Hi-Tec All Super Series is certainly scintillating. If you are in New South Wales, in and around the Sydney region, make sure you head to the track. There's still plenty more hours of racing to come. We're going well past 10 o'clock this evening, so make sure you head down here if you're watching on the live stream. As the cars come around the final corner, we are about to get racing once again. Here they are, side by side. Grimald just pulling up alongside the 135i, but look at the RX-8 of Ross buried right in the tail of the VK Commodore as we go green here in race 4 of the Replica Tourers. The big V8 cannot be stopped down towards turn number 1, and through goes Grimald straight away into the race lead. The VK Commodore has held on to position number 3, but the Mazda has made its way up to 4th place with the black BMW of Neil going backwards here early on in this race.
Have a look at Rosso and the RX-8 already fighting out for 3rd position at the moment, and having a look at the inside of Stewart, just making their way through the pack. They're trying to figure their way out. Ridley now back into 4th position, who was very nervous under the accelerator last night, wasn't he, in slippery conditions there. Pulsar working their way through, the number 32 there of Mooney. Just having a look down the inside, you've got a Pulsar up against a VE Commodore. They're like complete polar opposites, aren't they, when you see them as a road car? You wouldn't expect them to be side by side on a racetrack. So 4-cylinder versus V8, but a lot more weight in that Commodore. And have a look at the Pulsar going around the outside. Nice racecraft there, just to stick it on the outside of turn number 6 and gets a good drive and ends up in front of the Commodore.
Big dive up the inside from the rotary powered RX-8. But number 18 of Daniel Ross, the Queenslander, moves on through up the inside in the SAR heavy machinery machine. It's not a heavy machine by nature, just sponsored by heavy machinery. Oh, they're splitting the Corolla 2 by 2 either side there. Not sure if there was a bit of a misgear, but he was absolutely swamped on the exit of the corner as the RX-8 did all the hard work at turn 8. But it's got a problem here coming onto pit straight. Is there a puncture? Is the right front down, or is it mechanical? Not quite sure. But that RX-8 is certainly not up to racing speed. It looks so good for a moment there. I don't think it's a front right puncture because he's turned that into turn number 1, cocking up a wheel on the inside at a fast rate of knots, and dives up the inside into turn 2, back up the inside of Ridley in the Commodore. Maybe that's just how much straight line speed it lacks.
Potentially, I tell you what, it's definitely not a tyre puncher because you wouldn't want to be taking it to that corner at that speed, diving under brakes like that on Ridley. Maybe just missed a gear at some point, didn't get a run out of the corner potentially. That's what we're seeing from a few drivers. And we're like, oh, what happened down there? They're like, oh, I just missed a gear, and it really upset you on that run onto the main straight, especially seeing that Stewart had a late dive at him in that last lap. As you can see them sort of finding their way in the field. Oh, that beautiful escort from Race Products at the moment, the number 15, just gets past our K Corolla. That's going to be a nice little match-up between those two as well. Of course, the 15 there.
Then we got two Holden Dealer Team liveried machines nose to tail on the racetrack, just ahead of these guys as they swing it through turn number 6 on this circuit. Of course, turn number 6 was reprofiled when this circuit was reopened under the name of Sydney Motorsport Park. That corner layout was changed. It used to have a left-right sort of hook to it. And that's been re-altered now, a simple 90-degree left-hander, and it really has improved overtaking in that middle sector. We see a lot more side-by-side racing all the way through 5, 6 and 7. So that was a great change that was made to Sydney Motorsport Park in the early 10s to take away the kink into turn 6 and make it just a 90-degree corner, because it's produced so much better racing as a result.
Come around and complete another lap here in the Replica Tourers and have a look, and they're almost going 3 wide, a bit further down the pack there. Just having a look at Rick Christie in the Commodore, but it looks like, oh no, the VC is going to go by.
Did so with relative ease there up the inside. Nice move. It's now about to be attacked as well by the little Toyota, who had a big look there up the inside, but I don't think the Commodore was quite aware he was poking the nose up the inside. So he had to back out of that there at the very last minute. Good racing though from these guys. As we say, this is a Queensland category that has come to New South Wales for the very first time and delivered a field of nearly 30 cars. We started the weekend with over 30 actually, but we have lost a couple recently. But yeah, in the last couple of races, as you would expect with such a big field. However, it's notable to say that there are quite a few New South Wales competitors as well. There's a good, more than a handful. I think it's about 7 or 8 in total. So another category with a bit of state of origin battle as the Queenslanders, though, head to Queenslanders are here in New South Wales for the first time as the number 7 Robert Craft sponsored machine.
Yeah, Brian Smallwood, that is, on the Holden VL. I'm sure we've seen Smallwood actually out in I reckon I saw him in a Camaro last year.
Yeah,
actually.
I think so as well.
Yeah, that's a bit of a different car there. If you were to come out in a VL Commodore, probably a little bit more nimble than the big Camaro, slightly skinnier.
Quite hard to believe that, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, a lot of aero on the VL, wasn't there, for a day? Plastic fantastic. As you see him head down the main straight. It was great to see Stephen Hay come back after that big off yesterday as well. Looks like maybe some front cylinder damage on that car and the Group C Commodore.
Neil's not quite had the pace in this one, as he finished inside the top 4 in the race earlier on today. But since losing places at the start, hasn't really been able to recover from that. So it's now slipped down to 7th place. He's a good 5 seconds behind Scholes, the number 69 driver in the VC Commodore down the road at the moment. So he is left to fight for 7th position. And look at that, a good JPS-sponsored or a tribute livery, shall we say, on that BMW. Of course, not on the Jim Richards BMWs, as we saw back in the day here in Australia. A bit of a more modern BMW.
Yeah, certainly is. It's Mooney in that Pulsar, still holding on. And look at Mooney taking it to Smallwood in the V8-powered VL Commodore.
It is now V8 touring cars in the 80s, isn't it? With the BMW with that livery, and just behind it, the Commodore with another well-known cigarette sponsor that was emblazoned on the side back in the day, of course. Made famous by Peter Brock and Larry Perkins, that particular machine, winning the Bathurst 1000 on a number of occasions. And a nice tribute nod. And that's one of the things about Replica Tours. You don't have to, but you can put a tribute livery on the car. Same with that one. That's a tribute to Mark Winterbottom's number 5 Ford Performance racing car. For many, many years, Mark Winterbottom, the lead driver in the factory Ford team. And that's a real nod, a real good, properly done one as well.
Yeah, that's Pfeiffer in the number 5 machine. And what's this a shot of? Jägermeister as he goes through Anthony's. This BMW, this thing has been very, very quick all weekend. Obviously, a few errors from the driver, unfortunately. You've seen the car, a few brake lock-ups, missed a few turning points there, and there's been a couple of moments, but that BMW is definitely one to watch out for, and you can see him moving through the pack in 5th position. Here's Steve Hay, and this is the one that went off last night with a big moment there. You can see the front splitter damage there on the front of the car, working his way back through the field. And while we watch this on our screen, let's head into pit lane with Mel Price.
Well, whilst you guys are reminiscing up there about these beautiful cars, I am reminiscing down here as well about my time in the late 90s when these cars were actually on track. And with me is Jeff Gretsch. Do these bring back fond memories for you?
Oh, absolutely, Melinda. You know, that was a great period of my life, and it was great for motorsport in Australia. Everyone loved the cars, and some of the cars in this race even replicate the Group A cars, the old. But no, it's really good to see them on the track, and brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah, it's great. There's some great, HRT, HDT. They were fantastic times in Australian motorsport, weren't they? And it's just like the guys up in commentary, fantastic to watch them and relive how wonderful things were back then. Yeah.
We got into a lot of strife when we were younger, but no, it was good. We had great drivers, and blokes like Peter Brock and Lounsey and all and everyone in between, Dick, and so it was great. It was a great time for Australian motorsport, and I look back with fond memories, actually.
And they're actually legends of the sport, aren't they? And they're still being honoured, today out on track.
Absolutely. It's a great tribute to that period. Like these guys, they're prepared really well. And I had to scrutineer them yesterday, and I was surprised at their level of attention to make them look exactly like they were back in my day.
Yeah, the passion still exists, doesn't it? It's going strong.
Yeah. No, there was even some teeth marks in the roll cage, from early days.
Well, I feel privileged to have been part of it. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Melinda.
Thanks.
Jeff Gretsch had hair in the 80s, didn't he? And I think it was Scaife and Lounsey that may have made that go when he was part of HRT managing that team. Oh, big moment. Rowe looks like he's just gone off in the 86, and there's a lot of smoke under that car. Hopefully that's not that horizontal motor that just doesn't like it. So we release one of our recovery cars, and I'm just wondering whether we're going to see a safety car, and we do. The yellow flags come out. Yeah, Jeff Gretsch, he's got a lot of racing history, doesn't he? And this weekend here for a different purpose, Dan.
Yeah, that's right. He now works with the Formula Ford series here. We're under safety car and we've got a bit of overtaking. That's a huge no-no in any form of racing, whether it's NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One. You do not overtake under safety car conditions. So I don't think a couple of them, they must have missed the light change there. So they'll get back into formation. The correct formation will get back going again. But great to see the recovery team straight onto the scene of the engine failure, and hopefully there's not too many flames down there, and it's just a bit of smoke underneath the bonnet. But where there's smoke, there are usually flames. But yeah, going back to Jeff Gretsch, this weekend, and has been all year, heavily entrenched in a part of the Formula Ford Stars series. And he does a lot of work at Winton in the week as well, so he keeps himself busy. He might not be running race teams anymore, but he's still very, very much entrenched in motor racing in this country.
knows how to keep a couple of those up-and-coming drivers in line, doesn't he? He's
Yeah.
had plenty of experience with it across the years. Jeff Credge say. Look, great to have him as part of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series.
When I spoke to him earlier on in the year when the series was first announced, he said to me, you know, I really want to get Formula Ford back as the category that it once was and the real breeding ground that it once was. Because when I was running the Holden racing team, I just looked at Formula Ford. Whoever was doing well in that was the gun person that you got for hire. Craig Lowndes was that person back in that era, and look what he went on to do. Won three titles for that team in 1996, 1998 and 1999. So, yeah, really cool to have him a part of that series. And that's one of the great things about that category. It's on Foxtel, on KO, on SBS, as well as the live stream. It's Formula Ford back in the spotlight.
Well, as you can see, our Hyundai safety car has been out on track at the moment, which is not what we want to see in the Replica Tour Trophy Series. It's brought this race to a slow pace at the moment, and we'll have to wait and find out whether we get enough time to get this race back underway with less than 3 minutes remaining. It'll be unfortunate to see this. The 86 of Rowe, unfortunately, goes off to the right-hand side of the main straight. I'm hearing it might be a fire under there. Looks like some of the carbon fibre may have caught on fire or something like that. So potentially some heat in there. Hopefully there hasn't been an oil line or a fuel line let go or anything like that. Just potentially some heat under the bonnet there and something has caught fire.
Fingers crossed.
Sounds like we're at risk of calling this race at the moment because we were due to move on to one of our dinner breaks for all of our officials. So this potentially could be the last lap of this race. Not a way you want to finish it under safety car. We will wait to confirm that for you though. For the viewers at home, have a look at Sydney Motorsport Park. We're almost ready to turn the lights on here tonight as we go to the Sydney Sundown with day number 2 of racing. It's not too far away. We've got a big field of races tonight. Of course, all kicks off with our TA2 muscle cars, all of our Formula Fords, Formula Vs, the Australian production cars, Super Tin Tops, the Australian Drivers' Championships, before we try and get back into a little bit of Replica Tours Innovation Race Cars to finish things off tonight. And here are your results. The race is run and done now under safety car while we have this clean up. Jason Grimmin in the Coca-Cola Commodore gets the win over Shane Stewart in the BMW. Then it's back to Ross, Ridley, Scholes, Anthony's, Neil Hay, Smallwood and Wilson to round out your top 10. So Rex Scholes with a couple of issues there in the RX-8s down, and it'll be great to find out exactly what has happened to that car as well. Ridley, good to see him back up and forth in that Commodore after last night going back a number of positions. Mooney in 11th, and it was Rice, Hatton, Pfeiffer in the Falcon, Christie in 15th, Everett, Woodward, Burgess, Gillespie in the Escort, and Machisi in 20th position. As you can see there, our Replica Tour Trophy Series race number 4 runner done. They've got one more to come your way tonight. Of course, we do go out on SBS and Foxtel from 5 p.m. tonight. Not too far away. A short dinner break for us here at the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series from Sydney Motorsport Park. Make sure you join us back on those channels from 5 p.m. Can't wait to see you then.